Apocalypse begins by collecting S.S.S level cards. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 51 Chen Jiang. Like something is coming. Boss Zhu Yun, there is a situation. Qin Lang stopped the car and prepared for battle. The convoy lined up and everyone got out of the car and picked up their weapons. Qin Lang also came out of the RV with Lin Wana. He quickly walked to the military truck and took out the military binoculars. They saw a huge monster rushing towards them 1,000 meters away. The monster looked very much like the centipede they first encountered in Sangjiakan, except that the one in Sangjiakan was spliced by the Black Blood Heart's ability. The one in front of you is the original Nest Guardian, more than 20 meters long and 3 meters wide. It is definitely a formidable behemoth. The discovery of the winged demon means that they are very close to the high-level Blood Heart, and the discovery of the Nest Guardian means that they have officially entered the Nest sphere of influence. Oldly marveled, what a big centipede. It doesn't look like it's easy to kill. Qin Lang said, you can't let it go, otherwise our car will be damaged. Laoli and Lao Zhu, you two go with me, and the others will stay on guard. Good. Qin Lang nodded towards the two of them, and each rode a will-o'-the-wisp with snow tires to meet the Nest Guardian head-on. The two sides soon encountered each other. Laoli raised his hand and shot without saying a word. With a sound of puff, the blood pattern gun penetrated directly through the body of the Nest Guardian, blasting out a blood hole as big as a fist. The Nest Guardian hissed in pain and banged his head on the ground like crazy, but a few of them were prepared and used the ability of the will-o'-the-wisp to run far away. Murderous vines. Lao Zhu went around to one side and activated his skills, and more than a dozen vines appeared out of thin air to tightly restrain the body of the Nest Guardian. While it was unable to move, Qin Lang jumped up. The flying sword Yangren burst out a dazzling light, directly smashing the head of the Nest Guardian. Fuck. The fat man who saw the scene in front of him was frightened on the spot and rubbed his eyelids in disbelief. Is it true? That's the Nest Guardian, the existence that can easily flatten the shelter of 100 people with secondary armor was actually killed in seconds. Even though the facts were in front of him, Chen Jiang didn't dare to believe it. He pinched his thigh hard and then turned around and ran. Unfortunately, he ran too late. Qin Lang discovered Chen Jiang's existence when he killed the Nest Guardian, and the ghost fire motorcycle quickly caught up with him. Brother, spare my life. I just heard the sound and came to see. I have no hostility towards you. Chen Jiang was very single, kneeling down without any face, with his arms raised high. Qin Lang looked up and down at the fat man, and he had already made a judgment in his heart. Anyone who dares to eat himself into a bowl in the end times of lack of food and clothing cannot be a coward. He must have something extraordinary and must be treated with caution. What's your name and why are you here? Qin Lang asked. My name is Chen Jiang. My home is here and I have never moved. Chen Jiang answered honestly. At this time, Laoli and Zhu Yun also came over. Laoli exclaimed, this little fat guy looks quite festive and round. I'm not fat, I just have a big frame. Chen Jiang retorted, and then changed to a pitiful look. Brother, I have no grudges against you. You won't kill people and rob them, right? I really don't have anything on me. I'm a dog. If I lie to you, get up. I didn't want to do anything to you. We just arrived and want to know what's going on around here. Chapter 52 Uninvited Guests. He happily got into the igloo and distributed the cards obtained from the hunt to more than a dozen companions. Jiang. Why did you stay away for so long this time? We are all worried to death. Especially Killer, who asked us more than 80 times in an hour. Our ears are almost calloused. Everyone burst into laughter. The speaker was an old man who looked to be in his 60s or 70s. Long-term malnutrition had made him very thin. He used to be the gatekeeper of the community. Killer rolled her eyes and hummed, Uncle, can you please stop talking nonsense? It's not that exaggerated. I only asked 6 times. Chen Jiang chuckled. Who knows how wet our Uncle Liu's words are? You have to squeeze out the water before you can listen. Another burst of laughter came. Killer asked worriedly, Brother Jiang, are you okay? Are you injured? Don't worry, not even a hair is missing. But today is quite thrilling. If the new team hadn't been more martial-minded, I might have been left out." At that moment, Chen Jiang told his friends about his encounter with Qin Lang and his group. "What do you think of the strength of this team?" asked a man wearing glasses. "One thing to say, it was quite fierce. I saw with my own eyes that the giant centipede was easily killed by them. I judge that their strength is at least the captain level of the Iron Army Sanctuary." After a pause, Chen Jiang opened a pack and simply he stuffed the noodles into his mouth and chewed, and said vaguely, "I just don't know who is stronger between them and the Iron Army Sanctuary. I hope they will have a conflict, and then the convoy can win. I really live a life like this hiding in Tibet. That's enough." Boom. As he was talking, there was a sudden loud noise above his head, and ice and snow fell. Chen Jiang he was shocked and jumped up. "What's going on?" Crunch. Crunch. A heavy the sound of footsteps came from the passage, and 3 men in warlord robes appeared at the door. The leading man took off his warlord hat and patted the snow on it, smiling and said, "Chen Jiang, I didn't expect you to hide here. If there were no tire marks on the snow, I really wouldn't know that you have been hiding under the nose of the shelter. The most dangerous place is the safest, right, Zhang Bao? What do you want to do?" Chen Jiang opened his arms to protect his companions behind him. "I'll give you 2 choices. Either go back with us, or I'll kill you here." Zhang Bao's smile gave people a very gloomy feeling. "We have never had any conflict with the shelter. We just want to live. You can live in the shelter, and it will definitely be better than what you are living now." Zhang Bao pulled his white gloves elegantly. "The Rose and Blade shelters have formed an alliance. We need people to fight against them. It happens that you are a rare combat talent. You don't know how sad the boss was when you led people to escape from the shelter." Chen Jiang lowered his head and was silent for a long time before sighing. "Okay, I will listen to you, but you must ensure that they are not harmed. I dare not guarantee this. You also know the current atmosphere in the shelter. Everyone is very depressed and needs a way to vent." Zhang Bao smiled and said, "Of course, don't worry. Kihua is your woman. We will never touch her. As for other people," Zhang Bao's obscene eyes swept across several women in the crowd, frightening them to tremble. They escaped from the Iron Army shelter. They knew how inhumane women would be in the Iron Army shelter. How could they not be afraid? Chapter 53, Acting School. "Even if I die, I will never go back and be a star slave for you. You are just a bunch of beasts," a frail woman in the crowd roared. "Ah." Zhang Bao smiled contemptuously. "You don't have to say what you say about this matter. Chen Jiang, have you thought about it carefully?" I'm starting to get impatient. Behind Zhang Bao were 2 adjutants in the same attire. The adjutant on the left pressed the single frame mirror hanging on his ear and said with a smile, "Boss, Chen Jiang's combat effectiveness is 447, which has improved a lot." Zhang Bao nodded. "I remember that when you defected, your combat effectiveness was only over 300. How long has it passed? Your combat effectiveness has increased by 150. This should not be underestimated." Chen Jiang gritted his teeth and said, "What on earth do you want to say?" "I want to say," Zhang Bao pulled on his white gloves out of habit, "my combat power is 870. Chen Jiang's expression changed, and the next second Zhang Bao came to him and grabbed his neck. "I will kill you as easily as killing a chicken. I will ask you one last time. Do you want to follow him? Let me go." "That's enough. Stop." Kihua burst into tears. "We will just go back with you. I just hope you don't do anything to them. They are still just children." Zhang Bao's face was ferocious. "Then it depends on Chen Jiang's performance in the next battle. If he performs well, the boss will naturally not touch them, but if he lets it go and doesn't work seriously, ha 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 ha, I'll give you 5 minutes." Zhang Bao pushed Chen Jiang away, turned around and walked out of the underground shelter with his 2 lieutenants. The snow has stopped long ago, but the temperature outside is still cold. The wind blows on the body like a knife, but compared to the biting cold wind, everyone's hearts are even colder. Because they don't know what is waiting for them. Just as a group of people were preparing to get into the car and head to the shelter, one of the adjutants let out a light sigh and saw a man riding a will-o-wisp motorcycle appearing in the snow. The two sides were not far away, and soon the man came to them. Yes, he. Chen Jiang wiped his eyelids. He was a little confused. Isn't this the little brother who separated not long ago? Why is he here? Hi, fatty. I didn't expect us to meet again so soon. Qin Lang said hello with a smile. Zhang Bao raised the corner of his mouth and said, Shangman, which shelter are you from? No, I came from the city. Qin Lang got out of the car. It turns out there are still people alive in the city. Zio Zeduo. At Zhang Bao's signal, the adjutant nicknamed Zio Zeduo understood and pressed the combat power detector. Soon, the originally cold face became exciting after seeing the numbers. What's wrong? Zhang Bao asked strangely. The detector seems to be broken, and the numbers given are a bit outrageous. Adjutant Zio Zeduo knocked on the outer shell of the detector hard, seemed to be talking to himself, and seemed to be answering Zhang Bao's question. How could someone have a combat power of 5,500? Nearly 3 times stronger than the boss. Zhang Bao was stunned for a moment, then laughed loudly. That must be broken 5,500 combat power. What an international joke. Boss, 2,000 combat power is already a superhuman existence. Wouldn't 5,500 destroy the world? Ha 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 ha. Qin Lang said with a playful smile. It's freezing cold here. Where are you going? Fatty, why do you look like a bitter melon on your face? Are you being kidnapped? If you are being kidnapped, just blink. Chen Jiang's fat face turned red. He didn't know whether he was cold or anxious. He yelled, brother, it's none of your business here. Stop meddling in other people's business and let's go. This chapter is not finished yet. Click on the next chapter to continue reading chapter 53 Acting School A. Zhang Bao raised his hand and said, this is the time for the shelter to hire people. Now that I have met you, let me try your quality to see if you are qualified to join our shelter. Zhang Bao got out of the car coolly, pulled off his white gloves, took off his military cap, and handed it to the adjutant beside him. If you dare to go out for a walk alone in the middle of the night, your combat power should be high. I will use 3 moves. If you can block it, I will take you. Go back to the shelter and work for the boss. But what if I can't stop it? Oh, I'm sorry. The shelter doesn't raise trash. Well, no, you are quite handsome. Soldiers who can't tell the difference between girls even make rubber dolls. I guess they won't dislike you. Qin Lang's eyes flashed with fierceness, and he spread his hands. I can only say, do your best. Then I'm coming. Zhang Bao came erratically and punched Qin Lang in the chest. Qin Lang groaned, staggered back a few steps, bit the tip of his tongue gently, and spit out a mouthful of blood. Ah. Poof, it's so powerful. Zhang Bao raised his eyebrows. Not bad, not bad. He can block my first punch, and then the second punch. But Zhang Bao's fist suddenly burst into flames, and he punched out again. Poor Qin Lang flew more than 10 meters like a kite with its string broken. After falling to the ground, it even created a deep ravine in the snow. Qin Lang stood up with difficulty, and vomited blood again. My wife is too strong. Cough. Zhang Bao frowned slightly. Take my third punch. Slow, slow. Qin Lang begged for mercy. Sir, the power of your fist is too great. I really can't bear it. If you continue to hit me, I will die. Please be kind, and don't embarrass me. Zhang Bao looks up to the sky and smiles. Yes, yes, those who know the current affairs are heroes. My third punch is really hard for ordinary people to bear. What's your name? Qin Lang. Qin Lang wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth and replied breathlessly, giving people a feeling that he was about to burst at any time. Well, get in the car. Yes, sir. Qin Lang limped into the car. Chen Jiang had a look of crying and laughing. Brother, do you know where we are going? Why did you come at this time instead of earlier or later? Qin Lang smiled. Isn't it the Iron Army shelter? Qin Lang put his arm around Chen Jiang's shoulders. Little fatty, if a fight breaks out later, you protect the people around you, and don't let them get affected. Fight. Fight? Chen Jiang was stunned, and said in horror, don't mess around. The Iron Army shelter is the strongest shelter in this area. The combat effectiveness of Wang Tijun and the captain is over thousands. Wang Tijun himself has 2,000 combat power. You even had a hard time taking 2 punches from Zhang Bao. If you want to die, don't take us with you. Is 2,000 combat power very strong? Qin Lang glanced at him. shook his fingers, and said mysteriously, "Is there a possibility?" I said, "It's possible. The combat power detector is not broken." Haha. So funny. You mean you really have 5500 combat power? How can this be, Chen? Jiang stopped talking halfway because he thought of Qin Lang and his two partners who easily killed the big centipede not long ago. As if seeing a bright light in the dark, he became excited. "Do you really have 5500 combat power? Remember, protect your people. Leave the rest to me. You just need to tell me who are the important people." Okay. Definitely. Chen Jiang nodded repeatedly, his hair standing on end with excitement. Chapter 54. Those who obey me live, those who disobey me die. By the way, little brother, why are you here? It took a while for Chen Jiang to suppress his excitement and ask. Qin Lang chuckled. "If I say this is a coincidence, do you believe it?" Chen Jiang smiled bitterly. "It's just a coincidence." Qin Lang did not lie. The reason why he appeared near Chen Jiang's sanctuary was not wrong to say it was a coincidence, but it was also right to say it was intentional. Point. After being separated from Chen Jiang, Qin Lang let everyone camp and rest while he patrolled the area with a will-o'-the-wisp. After all, he had entered the sphere of influence of the giant arm lair, so it was always right to be careful. Point. But for some reason, during the inspection, he suddenly became curious about where Chen Jiang was going. So he followed the tire tracks on the snow and happened to meet Zhang Bao, who was about to take everyone back to the shelter. Since the shelters on both sides were not far apart, everyone arrived at the Iron Army shelter in less than 20 minutes drive. What came into view was a walled city that was beginning to take shape. Hundreds of giant ice blocks hung at the entrance of the huge walled city. Only when the vehicle drove past did Qin Lang recognize what was in the ice block above his head. Those were hundreds of naked female corpses. They didn't know how humiliated they were during their lifetimes, so that their lower bodies were unsightly, and when they died, they were hung at the door and frozen into blocks of ice. Ooh, mommy, a woman in the carriage was sobbing, and she recognized one of the ice sculptures as her mother. These beasts. Chen Jiang's eyes were on fire and he cursed in a low voice. "We're here, get off the car." Someone was banging the car hard outside. Point. When everyone got out of the car, Zhang Bao said with a smile, "You two follow me to see the boss. Take the rest to the basement first. Don't be afraid." Chen Jiang vigorously, holding back tears and saying goodbye to everyone. "Please, kill me. I can't stand it anymore." /U003CBR/U003 The group of people walked forward. They passed by a wooden house when a woman's extremely miserable screams came from inside. Zhang Bao didn't take it seriously and said, "This is a gun room, a place for low-level soldiers to vent. We have better choices. Don't worry, as long as you work hard, you need resources and women. We even have stars here. Do you know Chu Wei?" Chen Jiang looked a little confused, while Qin Lang raised his eyebrows. Chu Wei, a first-line female star. In terms of celebrity status, she is several levels higher than Lin Wana, and can be said to be a household name. She's just our boss's dog now. Zhang Bao thought of the night of spring with Chu Wei not long ago, and said with an intoxicated face, "The end of the world is really great. Classes have been broken. As long as you are strong enough, you can play with any woman you want." Qin Lang really couldn't find a reason to refute this sentence. Team Zhang. Captain Zhang is back. A group of soldiers with live ammunition greeted him one after another. After seeing Chen Jiang, their faces showed disdain. "Damn. Fat man, you still have the nerve to come back. I always thought you were dead outside, traitor. Damn. Rubbish. Why are you pretending to be upright faced with the accusation?" Chen Jiang chose to remain silent and quickened his pace to follow nervous Bao. "Zhang Bao, you are back, eh?" Hoarse voice came from inside the closed door. Zhang Bao quickly stood up straight and said respectfully, "Yes, boss, I'm back. I found the former Captain Chen Jiang while patrolling. I took him, and this chapter is not finished yet. Click on the next chapter to continue reading chapter 54. Those who follow me will live, and those who go against me will perish. I brought everyone back. In addition, I also brought back a little brother who is very good at fighting. Oh, but come in and talk." Squeak. The door opened, and a warm breeze came from the room. This 300 square meter hall is as bright as day and as warm as spring. Nearly 100 people were eating and drinking in this hall, and some were making peace in the darkness of the corner. Judging from his half-dressed clothes, he was obviously a captain-level figure. A burly man sat on a big chair in the middle, wearing a set of metal armor. At his feet, 2 young women with chains around their necks were kneeling, which he used as footrests. One of them is Chu Wei, a female star with an annual income of over 100 million in peacetime. The other is a little older and good looking. Qin Lang looks familiar, but he can't remember who she is. She must be a certain celebrity or someone entrepreneur in the last days without the rule of law. Women themselves are a type of resource, especially beauties, which are in short supply. Jiang He, long time no see. Wang Tijun sat up straight and said with a sneer on his face, "It seems that you are living a good life outside. Not only have you not lost weight, you have also gained weight." Chen Jiang said nothing, just lowered his head silently. "Zhang Bao must have told you the matter, so I won't go on. I am short of manpower now. As long as you serve me sincerely, let's forget about the past. I, Wang Tijun, have never been a grudge-bearing person. I understand. Thank you, boss, for disregarding the past grudges." Chen Jiang nodded. Wang Tijun looked at Qin Lang. "What do you call this little brother?" "His name is Qin Lang, and he is pretty good." Zhang Bao handed Adjutant Zhao Zeduo's combat power detector to Wang Tijun. "Boss, this combat power detector was frozen, and it actually showed that his combat power was 5,500. Do you think it's outrageous or not?" Wang Tijun smiled and said, "It's cold. It's normal for the detector to break. Here, I'll give you a new one." Zhang Bao took the new detector card, tore it open, and hung it on his ear. "I guess your combat power is at least 400. Ding, ding, ding. After a few seconds, a number appeared on the combat power detector: 5,500. Huh? What's going on? Zhang Bao looked incredulous when he saw the number. "It's impossible. This is a new detector. How come the test result is still 5,500? Wang Tijun frowned. "Nonsense. How can someone have such a high combat power?" But the number above clearly shows that. Zhang Bao was a little confused. There must be something wrong. There was a captain who was ravaging a woman in the corner. Hearing this, he silently put on the detector. After the test was completed, he stopped his waist movement and frowned, saying, "It's impossible that they are all broken. My detector is also 5,500. Wang Tijun frowned. "Impossible. Could it be that you?" Qin Lang smiled. The next second, a burning sword appeared in his empty palm, and the sword turned into a flame and directly penetrated Wang Tijun's body. Wang Tijun widened his eyes and wanted to say something, but it was too late. In just a few seconds, he fell into eternal darkness. The lively hall was dead silent, and everyone stared at Qin Language. "Boss." Zhang Bao rubbed his eyelids and screamed, You killed the boss." Qin Lang stood with his hands behind his back, and the flying sword was circling around his body like a living thing. At this time, his expression was solemn, and there was no trace of naivety. "Those who obey me will live, and those who disobey me will die," Qin Lang said lightly. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story, and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 55, New Master. This hall with 100 people in it was completely silent, and you could hear a pin drop. Everyone's eyes were focused on Qin Lang, and the emotions contained in these eyes were quite complex, including fear and anger, as well as surprise and expectation. Giluva. Chubby Chen Jiang, who was closest to Qin Lang, swallowed hard. He had imagined countless possibilities for the two sides to break up, but the current scene completely exceeded his imagination. Wang Tijun, this individual business owner who had pulled together a powerful team since the end of the world, sang triumphant songs all the way, met gods and slain gods, saw and slayed ghosts, and the extremely powerful boss of the shelter died so simply in the Qin Lang sword he didn't even have a chance to scream. What else happens next? Chen Jiang felt that his scalp was itchy, as if he was about to grow a brain point. Qin Lang walked slowly to Wang Tijin's body, put the body into the space with a touch of his left hand, and then sat down on the throne that symbolized power. After being stunned for a while, the two human dogs knelt down and sat up one after another, with flattering smiles on their faces. Unfortunately, the two artificial tails behind them could not move. "Who is the captain?" Qin Lang asked Chen Jiang. Xiaopang was stunned and raised his hand to point at the man who didn't even have time to put on his pants. "He is the captain." Roar. This man thought that Qin Lang was going to attack him, and he was so frightened that after roaring wildly, a large amount of grey hair grew on his body, and his muscles and body also expanded. In just 10 seconds, he turned into a man with 2 heads. A meter-tall warg. Just when everyone thought that the captain was going to show off his power and avenge Wang Tijin, the captain who transformed into a warg turned around and ran out the door. Joke. How can he, a captain with only 1500 combat power, fight a monster with 5500 combat power? Revenge. Avenge a bird feather. Of course it's important to save your life. I'll let you run away. Qin Lang calmly took out the forest wolf and aimed at the strong back of the warg. Point leg. Pull the trigger. Boom. The warg's right leg was blown off and he let out a scream and fell to the door. Under the severe pain, he quickly returned to his human form, holding the broken leg and howling miserably. "Who is the third in command?" Qin Lang ignored the captain and asked again. Chen Jiang pointed at Zhang Bao. "There is no third in command in the shelter, and the rest are captain level." Zhang Bao was sweating profusely, trembling with fear, and said in a trembling voice, I didn't do anything. It was Taijun who ordered us to do this. I'm willing to work for you. Please don't kill me." After saying this, Zhang Bao knelt down and kowtowed as if pounding garlic. What is dignity in the face of life? What's more, he has no such thing as dignity. Qin Lang nodded. Yes, those who know the current affairs are heroes. Since you are willing to take refuge in me, of course I will not kill you. Not only will I not kill you, I will also give you great benefits later. Get up. Thank you, boss. When Zhang Bao heard this, he was overjoyed. He kowtowed a few times and stood aside obediently. Upon seeing this, the other 5 captains hurriedly stood up, then knelt down to express their loyalty to Qin language. As for the psychology of resistance, it does not exist at all. The highest among them is only 600 or 700 combat power. Not even one has more than 1000. Who dare to hand Qin Lang his claws in this way? Qin Lang easily and comfortably set up the shelter in less than 10 minutes. In the final analysis, he underestimated himself and overestimated the Iron Army Sanctuary. Even if he doesn't show any weakness and sneaks inside, he can still kill through the shelter easily, but it will be a little more troublesome. Gaozi, do you want to live or die? This chapter is not finished yet. Click on the next chapter to continue reading chapter 55. New owner Qin Lang looked at the captain who was covered in cold sweat. The captain screamed in fear, "Boss, I want to live. Please give me another chance." No. Everyone can survive here, but not him. Chen Jiang became anxious. Qin Lang asked curiously, "Why?" Chen Jiang said excitedly, "He has been working for the tiger. Although he was ordered by Wang Tijin, the bad things he did are no less bad than Wang Tijin. This kind of person must be killed." The captain shivered and did not dare to say a word. Qin Lang narrowed his eyes and said, "According to your logic, all captains have to be killed, and even this shelter has no meaning." Chen Jiang was stunned. "Isn't it? This is the end of the world. You have to accept the law of the jungle. More importantly," Qin Lang flicked his fingers, "don't interrupt when I'm talking. Do you want to be my master?" Chen Jiang's expression changed, and his heart trembled. Yes, what qualifications does he have to influence Qin Lang's decision? Who is he? He was just a captain level little Karami. Take it. Qin Lang threw a silver card to the captain, who was full of surprise. Highly effective healing medicine. "Thank you, boss, for not killing me." The captain hurriedly took the highly effective healing medicine, and soon his broken leg began to grow back at a speed visible to the naked eye. "Zhang Bao, boss, I'm here." Zhang Bao saluted hurriedly, with a smile on his face. "You and Chen Jiang go and bring over everyone in the basement and gun room." "Yes, boss." "But, boss, speak. Don't hesitate. Those women in the gun room have basically lost their ability to take care of themselves. I'm afraid that bringing them here will stain your eyes. Zhang Bao carefully said. Yeah, he said. Ah. You afraid of staining my eyes? Or are you afraid that I will regret it in anger and kill you? Qin Lang sneered. I will not pursue what you have done before, and I will never regret it. Zhang Bao wiped his sweat and said, boss is generous, then I'll do it right now. Zhang Bao took two lieutenants, Chen Jiang and some ordinary soldiers from the shelter, to go out to collect people. Qin Lang looked at the group of captains below. Tell me, what abilities do you have, boss? My ability is warg transformation. Although it is a gold card talent, I have been upgraded. It is not a problem to fight against a few night demons. The captain said hurriedly. Well, from today on, your codename is Warg. The captain, or rather the Warg, nodded hastily. It's the boss. The Warg is at your disposal. My abilities are surgery and healing aura. I protect everyone who is injured and heal them all. Then, your nickname will be Doctor. My ability is the captains told Qin Lang about their abilities, and Qin Lang also gave them different nicknames based on their abilities, namely Wolf, Doctor, Swordsman, Eagle Eye, Warlord, Palm, Punisher, Chariot Point. I have to say that the team structure is quite reasonable, with a front row, a tank, a healer, an auxiliary, and a long-range team point. The 7 captains all possess unique skills. No wonder Wang Tijin can live so nourishingly until now. Boss, everyone has been brought here. Everyone is here. Zhang Bao walked into the hall with a group of people, more than 200 in number. Kahur and the others didn't know what was going on here, so they hugged Chen Jiang's arms tightly. Qin Lang's eyes fell on the dozens of women with their hands and feet cut off, and their hair disheveled. They were all slaves in the gun room. Chapter 56 Negotiation. Boss, it's really Wang Tijin's body. I know him. When he turned into ashes, the giant said to the man in the car. Lang Feng frowned. This young man is so capable. He can even kill Wang Tijin. Wang Tijin is a terrifying being with a combat power of 2000. How much combat power does he have? Let's see. Hiss. The giant gasped. Boss, is the detector broken? He actually has 5500. This is impossible. What? 5500? Lang Feng couldn't sit still anymore and grabbed the walkie-talkie. Chenzu, the test result here is 5500. What about your side? Same. Even if we put together we are no match for him. No wonder he can kill Wang Tijin. A woman's voice came from the intercom, sweet and cold. What should we do now? Go back. Lang Feng looked shrewd, but in fact he lacked opinion. The two shelters were able to form an alliance and withstand multiple attacks from the Tijin shelter, while Chenzu relied on Chenzu to deal with them. I'll talk to him and see what he thinks. Hanging up the communication, Chenzu got off the snow chariot. Boss, all. The younger brother stepped aside to leave a way for her. Chenzu is 1.7 meters tall and wearing a thick white down jacket point. Even though her figure was wrapped in 3 layers of clothing, it could still be seen that she had a good figure. Hello, I'm the leader of Rose Sanctuary. My name is Chenzu. May I ask what your name is? Chenzu was very polite. Faced with the terrifying existence of 5500 combat power, she did not dare to take any offense. Qin language. Mr. Qin, we are very happy that you can kill this beast Wang Tijin, but we just don't know what your plans are next. Come on, sit down and drink tea, and chat while you drink. Qin Lang took out a few cards and tore them open. Tables, chairs and 3 round stools immediately appeared in the middle of the venue. Qin Lang tore open a piece of yinka tea and threw it into the tea bowl. Boss of Blade, please come and sit. Lang Feng didn't hesitated, got out of the car. Lan Feng, leader of Blade Sanctuary, please. 3 people sat in the middle point. Qin Lang said while making tea. Life in the last days is difficult. Fighting monsters is not easy. There is no need to fight internally. What I mean is that the 3 of us can form an alliance and develop together. You say it's easy, then who will pay for the sins Wang Tijin committed before? If you really want to form an alliance with us, it's not impossible. You have to hand over all the captains first. Lang Feng snorted coldly. Qin Lang smiled lightly. Why? Chen Zhudao said, they are acting as a traitor to the tiger, and they will not regret their death. There is no reason for you to protect them. Qin Lang nodded, they really deserve to die. I can hand them over to you, and let you handle it yourself. Seriously? Lang Feng was delighted. Don't be happy too early. I have conditions. Qin Lang took a sip of tea and his body immediately became warm. After the 7 captains were handed over, you have to make up for the lost combat power of the shelter. In other words, by the way, each of your families must send me 3 combat talents with a combat power of over 1000. Puff, Lan Feng spat out a mouthful of hot tea. What, Chen Zhu said solemnly. Mr. Qin, are you kidding us, Qin? Lang slowly shook his head. The reason why I don't kill them and keep them is because they can fight monsters. Can noble characters such as kindness, integrity, and gentleness be used to kill monsters? These characters are worthless in the end of the world. Between the heinous fighter and the kind-hearted waste, I choose the former. What do you two think? Chapter 57 Alliance Success. No one knows this shameful secret, Miss Chen. What's wrong with you? Qin Lang was full of confusion. It's okay, Chen. Zhu forcibly suppressed her excited body and said with charming eyes, Mr. Qin, your power is beyond my understanding. I will never make terms with you again without being flattering. I hope that the 3 of us can form an alliance, fight the monsters of the apocalypse together. Me too, Lang Feng said hurriedly. The shock that Qin Lang gave him was beyond words. Qin Lang was startled and smiled. Then I wish the 3 of us a happy alliance, and please have some tea. After 3 rounds of tea, I plan to go hunting inside the Big Arm in the near future. I wonder if you two have this intention. Qin Lang suddenly made a proposal that neither family would dare to think of. What? Hunting inside the giant arm? Lang Feng exclaimed. Are you kidding me? Do you know how many monsters there are? There are dozens or hundreds of big centipedes on the outside. I think hunting is like prey. Bah. Chen Zhu said. Lang Feng, please listen to what Brother Qin has to say first. I believe that Brother Qin will not make random mistakes. He must have some elaborate plan. Qin Lang smiled and said, there is no Zhao plan. After all, the plan can't keep up with the changes. I don't know the specific situation at Juji. My idea is very simple, which is to unite the forces of our 3 shelters, to attack the Juji lair, use the human seed tactic to destroy the giant arm. In this way, we can seize a large amount of resources. Even if there are more people in the shelter, it will be enough for a while. Now that the monsters are getting stronger, the life of the shelter will be difficult. The last words spoke into the hearts of Chen Zhu and Lan Feng. Life in the shelter is not only difficult, it is extremely difficult. Eating horseshoes consumes hundreds of resources cards every day, and the monsters outside are so powerful that the risk of hunting is extremely high. Recently, people have begun to starve to death and freeze in the 2 major shelters. The situation of death and death from illness is very serious. Otherwise, why would the 2 of them join forces to risk attacking the Iron Army Sanctuary? Revenge is just an excuse. Their real purpose is to obtain the resources of the Iron Army Sanctuary to extend their lives. The essence of human beings is that people cannibalize people, but the way of cannibalism is different in civilized society and in the apocalypse. How? Do you know that there are massive resources in Juji's lair? Could it be? Chen Zhu thought of a possibility, and it was also the only possibility. Of course. Qin Lang took out a cigarette and was about to light it when a warg suddenly rushed over behind him. Then, in Qin Lang's strange eyes, it used its furry paws to help him light the cigarette and ran away again. Go back and change back into human form. Full of pride seeing this scene, the other 6 captains felt quite annoyed. Otherwise, they would have said that he was the chief captain. Look at this realization point. Qin Lang, Lan Feng, Chen Zhu, the former captain of the Iron Army Sanctuary, a terrifying existence with more than 1000 combatants, is now like a pug. Chen Zhu was speechless. How high is our success rate in destroying the giant arm's nest? Chen Zhu asked, calming down. About 70%. Qin Lang made nonsense. He didn't panic at all. If he really encountered danger, he could just run away. As for the life and death of the people in the 3 major shelters, what did he have to do with it? This matter is too important. Can you give us time to think about it? Chen Zhu thought for a while. Of course. By the way, you two have come all the way here. I'm afraid it's inappropriate to go back empty-handed. Why don't you ask the brothers to go into the shelter to have a hot pot before leaving? I'll treat you. Qin Lang was very generous. Hot pot? You must eat it. Lang Feng immediately became excited when he heard that he had eaten it. Chen Zhu also nodded. Her butt was a little cold and she needed to find a place to change into a pair of pants. Chapter 58 Positional Warfare. Brother Qin, are you really entertaining us with this? Chen Zhu rubbed her eyelids. She didn't believe her eyes and felt like she was living in a dream. She thought Qin Lang's words of eating hot pot were just polite words, but she never expected that Qin Lang actually took out more than 100 silver, blue, and green food cards to entertain her. At this moment, there was a dazzling array of vegetables and meat products in front of her. The aroma of roasted lamb and roasted suckling pig not far away stimulated everyone's taste buds, and many people drooled. In fact, since the end of the world, most people have been hungry and full, but if you can enjoy this level of food. To put it bluntly, canned noodles and instant noodles are considered a big meal. Miss Chen, you misunderstood. This is for the brothers. The feast I prepared for you is in the room. Please come inside. Qin Lang stretched out his hand very gentlemanly, moving for Chen Zhu and the core members to go inside first. Entering the brightly lit hall, the tables, chairs, and benches had already been wiped clean. The 7 captains lined up in a row and bowed neatly. Welcome distinguished guests. Qin Lang took out a few gold cards and tore them open. Soon the table was filled with a variety of steaming dishes: Chinka seafood feast, Manchu and Han banquets, bear paws and tiger meat, precious birds. These foods are almost impossible to eat in peacetime, and each of them is enough to sit through. Brother Qin, we are really flattered by you. Chen Zhu was greatly moved, and her eyes were a little moist. Don't have any psychological pressure. To me, these cards are just a drop in the bucket. Don't sit still and come to the table to eat. Qin Lang raised his hand and motioned for everyone to take their seats. The 7 captains, headed by the warg, all stepped forward to salute and shouted in unison, "Report to the boss. Our duty is to maintain order in the shelter. We eat food." Qin Lang chuckled. Very good. I like it very much. But I don't want my people to be hungry. Let's do this. You can eat after me, and the distinguished guests have finished. Yes, boss. The warg nodded vigorously. Our boss just knows how to care for people. The 6 captains said, yes, yes. After 3 rounds of wine, 5 flavors of food, Chen Zhu put down the wine glass with blushing cheeks. Her originally flat belly was already bulging. No, it's already up to the throat. If I eat any more, I'm afraid I won't be able to return to the shelter today. Brother Qin, thank you for your hospitality. As for joining forces, I just discussed with Lan Feng and the captains about the attack on the giant arm lair, and we all agreed that everything will follow your arrangements. Brother Qin, don't force yourself. It doesn't matter. Even if you don't agree, our relationship will not change. Qin Lang looked serious. Brother Qin, you are so kind. Chen Zhu sighed. Since the beginning of winter, our life has become more and more difficult. We are not afraid of your jokes. If we don't think of a way to break the situation, we will starve to death sooner or later. Now, Brother Qin, you are willing to take us with you. We are not happy yet. How can we force it? That's right. If you give it a try, the bicycle will turn into a motorcycle. Instead of freezing to death and starving to death, it would be better to have a good time before you die. Lang Feng said, clearly having drunk too much, smelling of alcohol. Then, Qin Lang nodded. Everyone will rest in the shelter today. How about we set off early tomorrow morning? Don't worry about cold-proof equipment. I will prepare it for everyone. That's fine. Chen Zhu thought for a while and agreed. The round trip took too long. If she encounters any monsters on the way, there would definitely be casualties. It would be better to rest in a shelter. Little fatty, when you're done, take Miss Chen and Mr. Lan to have a rest. Qin Lang greeted Chen Jiang. This chapter is not finished. Click on the next chapter to continue reading chapter 58. Positional warfare. Okay. Chen Jiang nodded and silently led others to pack the leftover food. In the deepest room of the shelter, there were dozens of slaves who had suffered inhuman torture and lost the ability to take care of themselves. Chen Jiang wanted to pack the food for them. There was no book all night, and the next morning there was no book. A large convoy of more than 600 people departed from the Iron Army Sanctuary and headed for the Giant Arms lair. Everyone is equipped with sophisticated firearms and has absolutely sufficient ammunition. The three leaders, Qin Lang, Chen Zhu, and Lan Feng, were sitting on the roof of an armored personnel carrier, making it easy to observe the surrounding situation at any time. They were surrounded by captain-level men with a combat power of over 600. On the way, the large army was attacked by several small groups of corpses. Before the human wave tactics could be used, the groups of corpses were blasted to pieces by rifle bullets. The convoy set off at 8 o'clock in the morning and did not officially arrive at its destination, near the Giant Arms lair, until 11 o'clock. Looking down from a high position, there are countless black spots hovering around the towering giant arm. Most of them are winged demons, and there are also a few weird looking flying monsters. On the surface, there are thousands of blood corpses, blood dogs, night devils, and a small number of centipedes and nest guardians. This is the first time I have seen the giant arms so close. It turns out that there are so many holes in the giant arm's nest. Chen Zhu put down the military binoculars and got goosebumps all over her body. Her trypophobia broke out. This is a good location. Let's set up a temporary position here. Qin Lang waved his hand, and the captains immediately took action. In an instant, a large-scale position was set up. Dozens of light and heavy machine gun holes in the position covered all directions, ensuring that no matter which direction the monster attacked from, it could effectively counterattack. Now that everyone is ready, let's say the street gets started. Qin Lang took out the forest wolf and carried it on his shoulder. His heart was far less calm than he showed in his previous life. He was a weakling. Although he participated in many wars with the shelter, he was only a logistics staff. He only had a vague concept of the strength of the giant arm's nest. It was hard to say whether he could succeed in the attack. First echelon, set off. With Qin Lang's order, dozens of people led by the wolf rushed down the high ground on snowmobiles. When they were still 1,000 meters away from the giant arm's nest, the monsters nearby were alarmed. They roared and rushed over like crazy. Turn around. The wolf roared, and the motorcycle team turned around and rushed back to the temporary position. Qin Lang chose the most traditional and safest way to play. When the wolf and his group fled back to the temporary position, the monsters were just in range. Fire. Bullets rained down like rain. Countless Molotov cocktails, grenades, and explosives exploded in the monster group, blooming with gorgeous sparks and blood. The horror of the human wave tactics was revealed at this moment. Even powerful high-level monsters like Night Demon and Centipede could not withstand the attack of hundreds of rifles, and were smashed into pieces in the hail of bullets. I lost again. Chen Zhu shouted inexplicably, and Qin Lang looked puzzled. What was lost? What was lost? In less than 10 minutes, the corpses of monsters at the extreme range piled up into a small hill. A few big ones are coming. Captains, get ready. Qin Lang shouted, and more than a dozen nest guardians emerged from the thick snow, and their huge heads fiercely smashed into the position under the hail of bullets. Chapter 59. Inside the lair. For the survivors at this stage, the nest guardians are the greatest threat, not only because they have thick shells that can withstand most bullet attacks, but most importantly, because they are very large, and are often easily and roughly smashed. One hit can smash a 6-story building into powder. This is why a single nest guardian with 3000 combat power can sometimes destroy a human sanctuary with multiple 1000 or more combat power. Humans lack the means to effectively resist their attacks. But today, the nest guardians miscalculated. Just as they were preparing to launch a joint attack to eliminate this group of humans in one fell swoop, the captains at the rear appeared on the battlefield carrying individual rocket launchers. With the sound of whizzing through the air, more than a dozen rounds were fired. The rockets hit the heads of the nest guardians hard, smashing them to pieces. These golden card individual rocket launchers all come from Qin Lang, who spent a lot of money to attack the Juji lair. With the destruction of the nest guardian, the alliance completed a zero-loss position battle, and everyone rested in place under Qin Lang's instructions. Chen Jiang, the chubby boy in charge of logistics, led his men into the battlefield to search for cards. If Qin Lang had to choose someone he could trust among the captain, Chen Zhu, and Lan Feng, it would be Xiaopang. Xiaopang did not disappoint him, and soon 2 color cards and a stack of gold cards were handed over to Qin Lang. As for the silver cards and the following cards, Qin Lang had talked with Xiaopang alone before setting off, so he could temporarily put it with him. The fattest jobs must be left to the people you trust the most. Chen Zhu and Lan Feng were both jealous of the card in Qin Lang's hand, but they had no objections. Firstly, Qin Lang pulled up this army. Secondly, he was responsible for 70% of the weapons and ammunition, and 100% of the heavy weapons on the field. They were all invested with real gold and silver cards. It was just like doing business. Whoever invested the most money, of course, who gets the big shot. Finally, Qin Lang himself has 5,500 combat power points, and absolute combat power represents absolute power. After resting on the spot for an hour, Qin Lang signaled the troops to jump over the mountain of corpses and sea of bones, to continue moving forward. At this time, the giant arm's nest is close at hand. It's strange. I've been scouting around here before and there were nearly 100 giant centipedes. Why did we only encounter a dozen? Could it be that I saw it wrong? Lan Feng muttered. They should be inside the nest. When encountering a strong attack, the giant arm nest will enter a defensive state. What we won just now was just the vanguard that was used to test our strength. The feast is in the back, brother. Qin is still capable. I wouldn't even dare to think about it. Lan Feng looked at him with admiration. Get your strong flashlight ready. Let's go in, Qin. Lang waved his hand, and the convoy slowly drove into the dark interior of the giant arm's lair. The space inside is bigger than it looks from the outside, Chen Zhu exclaimed, as more than a dozen flares were thrown. Everything inside the lair was illuminated. The outer wall, that exuded a putrid smell, had countless lumps of different sizes, shaped like a blood heart, and all contained some kind of monster. Crunch, crunch, crunch. Just as everyone was looking around, a strange noise came from above their heads. Someone raised a strong flashlight and shined there, and saw a huge spherical object flashing past, but the next second he was shot by Qin Lang. Shot down. What the hell is this? Lan Feng stared at the dead spherical monster on the ground. The scientific name is Beholder. It has certain mental attack capabilities, and can charm people with unstable minds. Come out. The presence of a beholder often means that a large force is coming. Qin Lang naturally knew this monster, and gave a simple explanation. Boom. Boom, boom, boom. Where the light above the head could not reach, there were bursts of loud noises, and in the next second countless blood corpses and blood dogs smashed down. Everyone reacted quickly and hurriedly dealt with it, but it did not cause many casualties. However, no one except Qin Lang noticed that, just when the chaos occurred, the entrance was closed quietly. Boom. 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 The sound of soft footsteps suddenly came, and dozens of bright flashlights were fired over. On a high step, there seemed to be several bloated monsters standing. They are 3 meters tall, and have the same limbs as humans, except that they only have one big eye on their face, which takes up 23% of the entire face. I'm shocked. It only has 1,500 combat power. Let's see how I deal with it. Warg sneered and transformed into a wolf form, but before he could launch an attack, these 5 or 6 monsters jumped out. He stood up and slammed into the crowd with the posture of a diver. More than a dozen people were smashed into pieces on the spot. Shoot, shoot. Flames spurted out, and the bullets hit the monsters and spattered a lot of blood. Soon, these monsters were covered with bullet holes. But what everyone didn't expect was that these monsters didn't care about the wounds on their bodies. After beating their bodies hard, they rushed towards the crowd. Not to mention humans, even vehicles were knocked away by them. It's not a collision of adjectives, but a collision of physics. People finally realized something was wrong when a military truck flew over their heads. They are no ordinary monsters. Their power is several times that of night demons. They are called Big Macs. Qin Lang raised his gun and aimed at the eyes of one of the giants and said loudly, "The eyes are the key. Don't hit other places. Be careful to avoid their charging route." Bang, bang, bang. The forest wolf is very powerful. Unfortunately, the head of the giant that was targeted by Qin Lang was quickly smashed, and the huge body fell heavily. When the others saw this, they all followed suit and shot towards the head. However, Big Mac only looks stupid, but in fact, its IQ is higher than that of the Nest Guardian. Seeing their companions fall, the remaining ones use one hand to protect their eyes, close their eyes and rush forward, crushing and killing humans. At the same time, countless blood corpses, blood dogs, and night demons fell from the sky, fighting with the human army. Chen Zhu took out a golden violin from a big box. Chen Zhu's colorful card talent is a battlefield musician. The impassioned music dispelled the fear in people's hearts. Everyone's eyes were red, adrenaline surged, and they rushed towards the monster without fear of death. Qin Lang took a deep look at her, and had to say that Chen Zhu's support ability was quite invincible in large-scale team battles. Seeing that Chen Zhu was moving, Lang Feng and the captains also joined the battle. Once all kinds of fancy skills are used, modern warfare immediately transforms into magical warfare. Qin Lang did not participate in the battle. He only used the forest wolf for long-range sniping. He wanted to save his energy to deal with the existence at the top of the food chain in the giant arms lair. For the survivors at this stage, the Nest Guardians are the greatest threat, not only because they have thick shells that can withstand most bullet attacks, but the most important thing is that they are very large, and often a simple and rough attack, a 6-story building, can be smashed into powder with just one hit. This is why a single Nest Guardian with 3000 combat power can sometimes destroy a human sanctuary with multiple 1000 or more combat power. Humans lack the means to effectively resist their attacks. But today, the Nest Guardians miscalculated. Just as they were preparing to launch a joint attack to eliminate this group of humans in one fell swoop, the captains at the rear appeared on the battlefield carrying individual rocket launchers. With the sound of whizzing through the air, more than a dozen rounds were fired. The rockets hit the heads of the Nest Guardians hard, smashing them to pieces. These golden card individual rocket launchers all come from Qin Lang, who spent a lot of money to attack the Juji lair. With the destruction of the Nest Guardian, the alliance completed a zero-loss position battle, and everyone rested in place under Qin Lang's instructions. Chen Jiang, the chubby boy in charge of logistics, led his men into the battlefield to search for cards. If Qin Lang had to choose someone he could trust among the captain, Chen Zhu, and Lan Feng, it would be Xiaopang. Xiaopang did not disappoint him, and soon 2 color cards and a stack of gold cards were handed over to Qin Lang. As for the silver cards and the following cards, Qin Lang had talked with Xiaopang alone before setting off, so he could temporarily put it with him. The fattest jobs must be reserved for the people you trust the most. Chen Zhu and Lan Feng were both jealous of the card in Qin Lang's hand, but they had no objections. Firstly, Qin Lang pulled up this army. Secondly, he was responsible for 70% of the weapons and ammunition, and 100% of the heavy weapons on the field. They were all invested with real gold and silver cards. It was just like doing business. Whoever invested the most money, of course, who gets the big shot. Finally, Qin Lang himself has 5500 combat power points, and absolute combat power represents absolute power. After resting on the spot for an hour, Qin Lang signaled the troops to jump over the mountain of corpses and sea of bones to continue moving forward. At this time, the giant arms nest is close at hand. It's strange. I've been scouting around here before and there were nearly 100 giant centipedes. Why did we only encounter a dozen? Could it be that I saw it wrong? Lang Feng muttered. They should be inside the nest. When encountering a strong attack, the giant arm nest will enter a defensive state. What we won just now was just the vanguard that was used to test our strength. The feast is in the back, brother. Qin is still capable. I wouldn't even dare to think about it. Lang Feng looked at him with admiration. Get your strong flashlight ready. Let's go in, Qin. Lang waved his hand, and the convoy slowly drove into the dark interior of the giant arms lair. The space inside is bigger than it looks from the outside, Chen Zhu exclaimed. As more than a dozen flares were thrown, everything inside the lair was illuminated. The outer wall, that exuded a rancid smell, had countless lumps of different sizes, shaped like a blood heart, and all contained some kind of monster. Crunch, crunch, crunch. Just as everyone was looking around, a strange noise came from above their heads. Someone raised a strong flashlight and shined there, and saw a huge spherical object flashing past, but the next second he was shot by Qin language. Shot down. What the hell is this? Lang Feng stared at the dead spherical monster on the ground. The scientific name is Beholder. It has certain mental attack capabilities, and can charm people with unstable minds. Come out point. The presence of a beholder often means that a large force is coming. Qin Lang naturally knew this monster, and gave a simple explanation. Boom. Boom boom boom. Where the light above the head could not reach, there were bursts of loud noises, and in the next second countless blood corpses and blood dogs smashed down. Everyone reacted quickly and hurriedly dealt with it, but it did not cause many casualties. However, no one except Qin Lang noticed that, just when the chaos occurred, the entrance was closed quietly. Boom, boom, boom. The sound of soft footsteps suddenly came, and dozens of bright flashlights were fired over. On a high step, there seemed to be several bloated monsters standing point. They are 3 meters tall, and have the same limbs as humans, except that they only have one big eye on their face, which takes up 23% of the entire face. I'm shocked. It only has 1500 combat power. Let's see how I deal with it. Warg sneered and transformed into a wolf form, but before he could launch an attack, these 5 or 6 monsters jumped out. He stood up and slammed into the crowd with the posture of a diver. More than a dozen people were smashed into pieces on the spot. Shoot, shoot. Flames spurted out, and the bullets hit the monsters and spattered a lot of blood. Soon, these monsters were covered with bullet holes. But what everyone didn't expect was that these monsters didn't care about the wounds on their bodies. After beating their bodies hard, they rushed towards the crowd. Not to mention humans, even vehicles were knocked away by them. It's not a collision of adjectives, but a collision of physics. People finally realized something was wrong when a military truck flew over their heads. And no ordinary monsters. Their power is several times that of night demons. They're called Big Macs. Qin Lang raised his gun and aimed at the eyes of one of the giants and said loudly, "The eyes are the key. Don't hit other places. Be careful to avoid their charging route." Bang, bang, bang. The forest wolf is very powerful. Unfortunately, the head of the giant that was targeted by Qin Lang was quickly smashed, and the huge body fell heavily. When the others saw this, they all followed suit and shot towards the head. However, Big Mac only looks stupid, but in fact, its IQ is higher than that of the Nest Guardian. Seeing their companions fall, the remaining ones use one hand to protect their eyes, close their eyes and rush forward, crushing and killing humans at the same time. Countless blood corpses, blood dogs, and night demons fell from the sky, fighting with the human army. Shenzhou took out a golden violin from a big box. Shenzhou's colorful card talent is a battlefield musician. The impassioned music dispelled the fear in people's hearts. Everyone's eyes were red, adrenaline surged, and they rushed towards the monster without fear of death. Qin Lang took a deep look at her, and had to say that Shenzhou's support ability was quite invincible in large-scale team battles. Seeing that Shenzhou was moving, Lang Feng and the captains also joined the battle. Once all kinds of fancy skills are used, modern warfare immediately transforms into magical warfare. Qin Lang did not participate in the battle. He only used the forest wolf for long-range sniping. He wanted to save his energy to deal with the existence at the top of the food chain in the giant arms lair. Chapter 60,000 Armed of Avalokitesvara. Bloody hairy paws wiped his eyes, as expected of the boss. Zhang Bao trotted over to flatter him. "Long live the boss. Don't come here. He's still alive." Qin Lang shouted loudly. Zhang Bao's face changed wildly, but at this time, it was too late to run away. A large ball of liquid flesh and blood wrapped him tightly. "Boss, save me. Goo goo Brother Bao." "No. Brother Bao." The two lieutenants of Zhang Bao were stunned. The boss creature of the giant arm nest of flesh and blood structure, the difficulty of killing is S level, has super resilience, and has talents such as splitting, devouring, and simulated learning. Qin Lang recalled all the information about Thousand Hand Guanyin. The most important point is that Thousand Hand Guanyin is afraid of fire, and his flying sword Yangren happens to be a fire attribute. This should be my only advantage. Qin Lang took a breath and said to the two lieutenants, "Give me a halo." "Ah, yes, yes." The two adjutants hurriedly added two auxiliary halos to Qin language. They did not have attack capabilities, but they both learned gold level Halo auxiliary skills at this time. Thousand Hand Guanyin had completely digested Zhang Beiyou and returned to its original form. It shook its bloated body and walked towards Qin Lang. Go. Qin Lang pointed his fingers together into swords, and with one point of his fingers, the flying sword flew out with a long fire tail. Thousand armed Avalokitesvara raised its tentacles and transformed into a shield to block it, but it misjudged the lethality of the flying sword everlasting burning. Those metal shields were easily chopped into pieces like tofu cubes. The flying sword everlasting burning's power remained unabated and slashed from it. Next big chunk of flesh. Thousand armed Avalokitesvara became furious, accelerated suddenly, and charged forward. Qin Lang hurriedly dodged to the side. During the dodge, several tentacles turned into ropes and wrapped around his body, pulling him towards the sudden open mouth. Eat explosives. Qin Lang was well prepared. He first lit a large bundle of detonators, and then used the air control technique to control the detonators, and sent them in smoothly. The big closed instantly. The next second it noticed something was wrong, but it was too late. A ball of fire exploded, and a mouth thousand-handed Guanyin turned into countless fragments. Qin Lang was also affected and injured. He fell heavily to the ground. His clothes were tattered, revealing his perfect muscles that were almost impeccable. Chen Zhu stared blankly, took a breath of cold air, and her body trembled. Aoao, aoao woo woo. Boss, are you okay? The wolf rushed over, picked up Qin Lang, and threw him on his back, and quickly hid at the edge of the battlefield. I'm fine. Fortunately, you came in time, otherwise Qin Lang moved his arm. My wound should have healed. The wolf. Qin Lang joked, and his expression became serious again. Thousand-handed Avalokitesvara is not an easy creature to kill. Even if it is broken twice in a row, it is impossible to die just like that. As expected, the fragments that were blown away began to wriggle and gathered towards a position in the middle. Don't just stand there, shoot at the fragments. Qin Lang first picked up the rifle and started shooting, and the others followed suit, smashing the flesh and blood into pieces to prevent them from gathering. After 5 or 6 minutes of shooting, it stopped at Qin Lang's signal. Except for the battle in a farther area, Qin Lang's side was quiet. The danger intuition showed its use at this moment. Feeling the danger behind him, Qin Lang's scalp numbed, and he rolled to the side without thinking. When he looked up again, he saw that a half-meter tall dwarf creature appeared in the place where he was standing, holding a dagger-like weapon in his hand. Chapter 61. Core of the Nest. Seeing this dwarf creature, Qin Lang's eyes flashed with joy. According to the investigation results given by researchers in previous lives, Thousand-Hand Guanyin has 2 final forms, one of which is to split into a large number of flesh and blood dwarfs. Although the flesh and blood dwarfs in this state have super speed and lethality, they have lost their terror, recovery ability, and Qin Lang is best at single-on-one attacks, and speed is also his strength. Thinking of this, Qin Lang moved his 2 fingers, and the flying sword Yangren slashed hard. Although the flesh and blood dwarf moved fast, it was half a beat slower than the flying sword Yangren. Just as he jumped into the air to escape, he was cut into 2 pieces by a sword, and a colorful card was revealed in the broken flesh. Qin Lang didn't even look at it. He threw the colored cards into the storage space. He turned around and looked at the others. They were all attacked by flesh and blood dwarfs. This inconspicuous dwarf was even difficult for the captain to deal with, let alone those ordinary people. Nearly 100 people were killed in just a few dozen seconds. If Lan Feng hadn't realized something was wrong and returned to the roof of the car in time to defend Chen Zhu from the dwarf's attack, Chen Zhu would have died by now. Qin Lang didn't have the energy to take care of other people. He walked forward with firm steps. The flying sword Yangren controlled with his fingers, shuttled through the crowd, and continuously killed flesh and blood dwarfs. The flesh and blood dwarfs that occasionally attacked were often chopped into pieces by him with his black sword before they could get close enough. At this time, Qin Lang can be said to be both offensive and defensive. Impeccable. Quack. Suddenly, there were bursts of strange screams in the dark air, and countless winged demons swooped down, cooperating with the flesh and blood dwarves to attack the remaining survivors. The original large army of more than 600 people now only had less than 100 people left, and with the rate of 5 or 6 people per minute is rapidly decreasing. Brother Jiangyi, I'm scared. Kihua firmly grabbed Xiaopang's arm. Xiaopang's face was solemn. Since more than 10 of them were not capable of fighting, Qin Lang arranged them in the car at the back as a battlefield cleaner. They shivered in fear when they saw the bloody scene outside through the car window. Boom. /U003 puff. Puff. Several winged demons landed on the roof of the car, and their sharp claws easily penetrated the seemingly hard steel plate. In an instant, the roof of the car was lifted, and the winged demons screamed and penetrated a woman's head, taking her into the air and meeting her. Other winged demons share the food. The nearby winged demons discovered a carload of prey and rushed over excitedly. The situation at the scene was precarious. It is a pity that, although Qin Lang saw everything happening behind him, he was unable to do anything because he had discovered that there was another leader besides Thousand Hand Guanyin hidden in this group of winged demons. This is at a boss lair. It can be said that the probability of encountering 2 bosses in a lair is equivalent to buying the same number for 100,000 yuan and winning more than 200 million yuan in the end, without even paying taxes. In the dark sky, a humanoid monster with wings and a fork-shaped weapon stared at Qin Lang. This is a white Shura with a difficulty level of B to kill. It has extremely strong mobility. Its advantages that it has strong single target combat capabilities, but its disadvantages that its defense is slightly weak. 3 flesh and blood dwarfs took advantage of Qin Lang's distraction and launched sneak attacks from the left, right and back. Seeing that the dagger was about to stab this hateful human to death, Qin Lang suddenly turned around and chopped continuously. In a bright light, even the flesh and blood dwarf and 5 or 6 winged demons in midair were turned into powder. Brother Xiaoqin, save me. Chen Jiang stretched out his hand towards Qin Lang with difficulty. But it's a pity that he couldn't wait for Qin Lang to come back for help. A winged demon pierced his head. During the fight with Xiaopang was too fat, and he couldn't catch it for a while. The body fell on Qin Language. At feet. This chapter is not finished yet. Click on the next chapter to continue reading chapter 61. The core of the nest. Qin Lang looked at the corpse silently, not knowing how to react. Chen Jiang, the future top expert, died here. My rebirth has changed the fate of too many people. Will Xiaonazi do it? Qin Lang's mood suddenly became a little depressed. Looking up suddenly, he saw that Beishura was close at hand. It was too late to avoid him, but Qin Lang didn't panic at all and turned on the protective bracelet as soon as possible. The steel fork stabbed Qin Lang, only knocking him back and failing to cause any substantial damage to him. Beishura returned to the air, his already twisted face becoming more ferocious. Bullying me that I can't fly? Your opponent has never been me. Qin Lang turned around and only heard a loud bang. The closed door of the giant arms lair was violently blasted open, and dozens of armed men and women appeared at the entrance. It was none other than the team members who had been in spiritual communication with Qin Lang in the past 2 days. Lin Weina, Laoli, Zhu Yun, Ding Yun, and the shelter staff. Oh, that's Beishura, right? Zhu, it belongs to me. You must not steal it from me. Leo. Li was so majestic. He aimed his blood-patterned gun at Beishura and threw a shot from 100 meters away. Before Beishura could react, he was overturned by the shot and hit the ground, his wings fluttering in pain. Murderous vines. Zhu Yun crossed his arms, and the next moment, dozens of vines sprouted out of thin air, tightly entangling the nearby winged demons and flesh and blood dwarfs. Kill. Ding. Yuan transformed into a lizard and pounced on the flesh and blood dwarf closest to her. Chen Zhu stared blankly at these unfamiliar faces. Next to him is Lan Feng, who has long since died. Lan Feng single-handedly killed 6 winged demons and 2 flesh dwarfs, and died of exhaustion. They are all my people and we are saved. Qin Lang stretched out his hand and signaled Chen Zhu to come down. Chen Zhu jumped up. Before she could stand firm, a dagger in the darkness penetrated her waist. Puff. Chen Zhu spurted out a mouthful of blood and passed out. What attacked Chen Zhu was a half-dead flesh and blood dwarf, and even Qin Lang didn't notice its existence. Chun-Li, help, coming. Who? Chun-Li rushed over to treat Chen Zhu. On the other side, Laoli, Zhu Yun and Ding Yuan, 3 strong men at their peak, took the lead. The gunmen and archers behind them were very comfortable. After a while, all the winged demons were wiped out, and Beishura he finally died under the siege of 3 people. So many people have died. Lin Hua on a side softly point through spiritual communication. She knew Qin Lang's plan early on. She would first consume the people in the shelter, let them take the lead, and finally let them attack to minimize casualties. But she did not expect that the Jubilee lair would be so terrifying. The Alliance brought over 600 people, but in the end, less than 50 survived, and the death rate was as high as 90. You guys collect the cards, and I'll go up and get the stuff, Qin Lang warned, and went up the spiral staircase. There were some lone winged demons along the way. They did not dare to attack Qin Lang, and scattered like birds and beasts. After walking upward for a while, Qin Lang found a fist-sized nest core in the middle of the giant arm's nest. Qin Lang took a deep breath, cut off its rhizome with a knife, and held it in his hand. Through the thin shell, he could clearly see the dark gold card and colored card inside. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 62 Safe House. As the core of the nest was taken off, the huge giant arm nest began to tremble. Qin Lang did not dare to stay too long and quickly returned to the original route. At this time, a group of people responsible for cleaning up the battlefield were already waiting outside the door. That is, Qin Lang's pupils suddenly condensed. He found a half-naked corpse in the corner. Its owner was the former captain of the Iron Army Sanctuary, the warg point among all the captains. It was the warg who impressed him deeply. Unfortunately, Qin Lang couldn't recall how he died, but it was better to save him from having to do it himself. Taking one last look at the mountain of corpses and sea of bones, Qin Lang pursed his lips and walked towards the team. Not long after the convoy left the giant arm's nest, the giant arm's nest suddenly collapsed and turned into a piece of sewage. Qin Lang, don't blame yourself too much. This is the end of the world. The end of the world is inherently cruel. Even if you don't bring them to the Jubilee lair, they may not be able to survive the cold winter. I feel really sorry for you like this. A pair of warm little hands gently placed on Qin Lang's shoulders, and Lin Hua comforted him softly. Qin Lang withdrew his gaze and buried his head deeply into his soft chest. He didn't blame himself for bringing the Alliance into the giant arm's lair. He was just worried that Feng Xiaoni would end up like Chen Jiang because of his rebirth. Lie down and don't move. I'll take care of you. Lin Hua rolled up her long hair and pushed Qin Lang down with a smile. As the driver, Lin Emo closed the curtain very wisely. Don't look at anything inappropriate. Ah, these cards really for me. Chen Zhu couldn't believe her eyes. There were thousands of cards in front of her, and everyone would be confused. You deserve this. I didn't expect that so many people would be lost in this attack on the giant arm's lair. I deserve it. Chen Zhu sat up with difficulty. She was seriously injured. If it hadn't been for Hu Chunli's rescue in time, Xiaoming had already given his life. At this time, he had not recovered, and it was a little painful to move. You will be in charge of the shelter from now on. Eating horseshoes consumes a lot of money. You'd better accept these cards. Otherwise, how can you support so many mouths? Qin Lang paused, and then said, we will live in the shelter for a while. I won't leave until I have a new foothold. I will help you build a suitable set of talents and skills based on your talents in a few days. Your current talents are purely auxiliary. Once someone gets close to you, you will die. Chen Zhu was in a daze. Everything Qin Lang said was good, but she always felt something was strange. Chen Zhu suddenly became alarmed. That's not right. Brother Qin, you want me to use these cards to support a shelter with hundreds of people? That's not enough at all. The shelters are filled with the elderly, the weak, the sick and the disabled. Qin Lang spread his hands and said, I can only take out so much. As you can see, I also have a lot of people, and they have to be fed by me, brother Qin. Chen Zhu was anxious. Take me with you. Although my color card talent does not have the ability to fight alone, it can be used in group battles, and has a strong auxiliary effect. It is definitely 1 plus 12, so simple. It's not impossible to take you away, but what about the old, weak, sick and disabled people in the shelter? He really likes Chen Zhu's talent. Its supporting effect in small-scale team battles is far greater than that of various silver and gold card halos. Well, Chen Zhu muttered, it's better to leave the card to them and see how long they live. The choice is yours. It's up to me. Qin Lang stood up to leave, but Chen Zhu grabbed his arm. Qin Lang was startled. What's wrong, brother? Qin, is Linwana your girlfriend? This chapter is not finished yet. Click the next chapter to continue reading chapter 62 and Qin Lang was a little confused. So what if it is? What if it's not? Chen Zhu's face turned red. I'm a master's degree in music from Berkeley University. This time I returned to China to visit my parents, but I encountered the apocalypse. Although I'm not a star like Linwana, my family background are only higher than hers, not lower than her. Qin Lang frowned deeply. What exactly do you want to say? I want to be your girlfriend. Qin Lang looked surprised. Was it so sudden? He really didn't expect it. Although I study abroad, I'm still a virgin. I'm very clean. I don't want to compete with Sister Lin for favor. I just want to live well. Chen Zhu pleaded with her eyes. You heal your injuries first, and we'll talk about other things later. Qin Lang stopped staying and walked out of the room. I have to admit that Chen Zhu is quite outstanding regardless of appearance, figure, or appearance. Chen Zhu would have such an idea, which is abrupt but not incomprehensible. After all, he showed super fighting power in the battle, and any woman would want to be attached to him. Surround yourself with strong men to rely on. Love and sex can only be used as seasonings in the last days. If you really think that I will be controlled by these two things, you are too naive. Chen Zhu, she does have a good figure. Qin Lang rolled up a piece of white snow and returned to the RV muttering to himself. At this time, he did not notice that behind him, Lin Weiner walked into the room, where Chen Zhu was with a dark face. Inside the RV, the temperature is always 25 degrees above zero, which is very warm. Qin Lang looked at the nest core on the table and fell into deep thought. The lair core has two uses. The first is to cut it open directly and take out the cards inside to enhance yourself or your team. The second way is to plant it next. Use human or monster corpses as nutrients to cultivate it. Let it breed monsters continuously and then kill monsters to get cards. Under normal circumstances, cultivating the core of the nest is the most cost effective, but the shortcomings of this are also very obvious. First of all, this means that Qin Lang must be prepared to fix the base camp in a certain area, because the core of the nest has no legs and cannot follow the vehicle move. Secondly, the process of growing the core of the nest is quite long. Even if there are sufficient nutrients, it will take 2 to 3 months, or even longer, to start reaping benefits. Qin Lang pinched his eyebrows and said, with my current strength, as long as I don't seek death, I will basically not die. How about finding a place to plant it first? That place is very suitable for a long-term shelter. If it doesn't work, then cut the card and take it. It's too late for the card. What? Boss, are you kidding me? Do you want to use this as a shelter, Leo? Li looked in disbelief. Can I ask why? No. Qin Lang glared at him. Old Li rolled his eyes and patted his bald head hard. Well, you are the boss and you have the final say. Then it's such a happy decision. Qin Lang took out a colorful card from the space ring and knew how he picked this up on the first day of the apocalypse, and he didn't have the chance to use it until today. As the cards are torn apart, a courtyard covering an area of more than 200 square meters appeared out of thin air on the snow. Pushing open the door is a huge yard, which not only has 4 areas for planting, but also a well with separate drinking water and electricity systems. Wow, this house is so beautiful. Are we going to live here in the future? Lin Wana's eyes were filled with stars. Of course. We will live here for a long time in the future. You can choose a room. Chapter 63, Farming and Trading. In addition to the yard, this small house also has a main control room and 4 independent rooms, each of which has a bedroom, storage room and bathroom. The first batch of residents of the house Linwana, Li Zhenqi, Zhu Yun, Ding Yuan and Hu Chunli. In theory, Hu Chunli is not qualified to live in the house, but she is Liao Li's woman and a family member of his right-hand man, so she must be treated seriously. As the owner of the house, Qin Lang naturally lived in the main control room. The huge 200-inch screen can not only be used to watch movies and play games, but also to monitor the room and the surrounding area within 100 meters without blind spots. Do you feel at home, Qin? Lang lay on the soft bed and looked at Linwana with a smile. Linwana pounced and got into Qin Lang's arms. I'm so happy. Hey, don't be busy doing bad things yet, Qin. Lang grabbed his pants with a smile. Otherwise Linwana would tear them off. Everything has a priority. I have to get the most important thing done first. What's the most important thing? Linwana sat on the bed in a duck-like sitting position. I'll be back soon. You take a shower first. Oh, okay. Qin Lang walked out of the main control room and entered the backyard from the side. The backyard is an independent and private area with the same defense level as the main control room. Most importantly, there are 2 special planting areas here. Qin Lang buried the nest core in the soil and then took out the corpse that had been casually put in from the storage space and covered it on the nest core. The vitality of the nest core is far beyond human imagination, and it is also very simple to plant, so Qin Lang doesn't have to worry about it at all. After completing the planting effortless, Qin Lang brushed off the dust on his hands and went back to the main control room to find Linwana to applaud for love. The next morning, Qin Lang strolled to the backyard. The scene in front of him amazed him. At this time, the corpse covering the core of the nest had been penetrated by countless black blood vessels, which continuously absorbed nutrients from the corpse, and the corpse had obviously shrunk a lot. At present, it seems that one corpse is consumed every 2 or 3 days. Qin Lang nodded and simply took out a dozen corpses to cover it, all picked up from the nearby giant arm nest. In this way, he doesn't have to come here every day, saving time, effort, and worry. There are also 3 ladies, Ding Yuan, Linwana and Hu Chunli, who are also farmers. They planted tomatoes, potatoes, beans, winter melons, pumpkins, corn and other plants in the planting area of the front yard. These seeds all come from cards, and it is very simple to plant. The only thing to pay attention to is that you must choose the right season. For example, in the cold winter, you can't plant spring seeds, autumn seeds or summer seeds, and vice versa. In the next half month, Qin Lang hardly left his house. Every day, he either played games or watched movies, or spent time with Linwana. His life was much more comfortable than before the end of the world. Laoli had the same feeling as him. This big bald guy shouted, I love the end of the world, and the end of the world is really cool, more than once. After getting drunk. The big guys in the small house certainly lived a very free and easy life, but this did not mean that the rest of the people who were not qualified to live in the small house lived a miserable life. In fact, the guys led by Lin Mo, Wu Fa, and Wu Shan outside invited a group of people to have outdoor barbecues all day long. If they were really bored, they would make snowmen and do art. It was as lively as going to the harbor in Ice and Snow World. In this world of ice and snow, people even gradually forgot the cruelty of the end of the world. This chapter is not yet finished. Click the next chapter to continue reading chapter 63. Farming and trading. Time passed, and one day half a month later the sun was bright, but could not dispel the severe cold. At this time, the outdoor temperature had reached -35 degrees. A convoy of 50 snowmobiles stopped a few kilometers away from An's cabin. The man in the white fox fur had put down his military binoculars, and a hint of doubt flashed in his eyes. The man in the white fox fur had put down his military binoculars, and a hint of doubt flashed in his eyes. Boy in a white windbreaker next to him exclaimed, "Boss, I think I must be hungry and my eyes are blurry. Why do I feel like they are having a party?" "You are not blurry, they are indeed having a party. They even built snowmen and a slide. Damn, there seems to be a ski resort behind. Fuck, what is going on? I'm confused." The fox fur man tightened his scarf, which had long been frozen, and said, "There is only one possibility for them to dare to play like this in the end of the world. Their enhanced talents and skills are enough to fight against the harsh climate and most monsters. They are not afraid at all." The boy pondered. "Then boss, do you mean to take a detour? We don't have enough food cards. We have to trade with them and see what their attitude is first." The fox fur man grabbed a handful of snow under his feet and threw it out. The snow turned into a bird in the air and flapped its wings to fly towards the shelter. At this time, Linemo and his group were playing poker in the tent. Suddenly, they heard birds singing outside and walked out curiously. What kind of bird is this? I've never seen one before. Chenzu looked curious. It's so beautiful. Cough, cough, cough. The bird coughed a few times. Hello. Fuck. Bird spirit. Hurrah. More than a dozen rifles aimed at the bird at the same time. The bird hurriedly said, wait. I'm not the enemy. We are a convoy from Wanghei City. We are in short supply of food and hope to exchange some resource cards with you. You can look to the west. Our convoy is here. After hearing this, everyone looked around and saw some black spots on the high ground to the west. What are you going to give us in exchange for our food cards? Lin Mo asked. Zionio. It depends on what you are short of. Everything below color cards can be traded. Okay, just wait. I'll notify the boss right away. Lin Mo patted his butt and walked towards an hut. Can we trade food cards? Okay, let's go out and have a look. When Qin Lang heard the news, he put on his clothes and came to the door. Zionio. Hello, my name is Deng Haifeng. I come from Wanghei City. I hope to do business with you. Okay, if you need anything, please list it down for me to see first. Qin Lang nodded. At this stage of the end of the world, all the people who can survive are human beings. Not many people dare to start a war easily. He estimates that this deal is 80% true. The supplies I need are as follows. The little bad spread its wings and saw a snow tiger running out of the west. The snow tiger stopped in front of everyone, holding a gold card in its mouth. Zionio, the gold card is just to show our sincerity and is not included in the transaction. Crack. Snow tiger's body collapsed, revealing a thick list. Qin Lang picked it up and looked at it briefly. Most of the things they wanted were food, and the exchange ratio was marked. But what puzzles people around is that these foods all start with blue cards. No, this is the end of the world. It's good to eat something. Why are you picky about food? You have to have blue card food. Why? Instant noodles and ham sausage can't satisfy you. Leo Li's complaint was quite accurate. Chapter 64. Wang Wu. Hello everyone, my name is Wang Wu. I'm a physical education teacher in Wanghei City. Wang Wu took off his fox fur hat and bowed. Fuck, this is outrageous. Boss, you are right. His combat power is 7700, which is higher than yours. Leo Li said with a sigh. Qin Lang glared at him and started to communicate with him. Leo Li, you talk too much nonsense. Wait for me and him to go into the house. You find a way to control those people on the slope. Be polite first and then use force. Try not to cause any deaths. Leo Li Ojbk. Zhu Yun received it. Ding Yuan received it. Lin Wan is. Qin Lang said with a smile. Qin Lang, the leader of this small shelter, I already know your problem. Let's go in and talk. My fee is very expensive. Wang Wu said, as long as this problem can be solved fundamentally, the card is not a problem. Hey, generally speaking, money is not a problem, but it is 100% a problem with money. Haha. Mr. Qin is really humorous. Please, come in, Qin Lang took Wang Wu into the Nzarao point in the Nzarao. He has a 100 home advantage. Don't say that. Wang Wu only has 7700 combat power. He is 17700. Of course, there is no monster of this level at present. Is this paradise? Wang Wu felt the warm atmosphere in the small courtyard, looked at the green plants, and said with heartfelt emotion, hey, Mr. Wang, look at what you said. Who are you insulting? How can paradise be as comfortable as me? Hahaha, then I was wrong. I apologize. Wang Wu laughed. Good impression is a very wonderful thing. Wang Wu felt that Qin Lang had a good impression when he first saw him. After a few brief exchanges, he began to like this young man who was much younger than him. How bad can a person who can retain a humorous personality in the end times be? Simple logic. Gilulu. Qin Lang made a pot of tea in the courtyard and sat looking at Wang Wu. He took a sip of tea and went straight to the point without any hesitation. Cards can enhance people's combat effectiveness and improve their survival rate in the end of the world. This is an indisputable fact, but this does not mean that a person can use various levels of cards mindlessly. Cards are used to strengthen oneself. The final result of mindless strengthening is that the body cannot withstand the backlash caused by the cards. The most typical example is that when the number of strengthened cards reaches a certain number, and then eat green card or white card food, they will lose their original strength. To put it simply, it means that it is not hungry and thirsty. At this time, the strengthening body must use blue cards to replenish energy for the body. This is your current situation. Wan Wu almost jumped up with excitement. Yes, you are absolutely right. Now the white card and green card food are of no use to us. No matter how much we eat, it's just like we haven't eaten at all. Please teach me, Mr. Qin, what should I do? What can be done to alleviate this situation? Qin Lang picked up the teacup and said with a smile, then it depends on your sincerity, Mr. Wang. Oh, I understand. Wang Wu can be considered a social person, so he quickly took out 5 gold cards and handed them over. Qin Lang put it all into the storage space without looking at it. Eyelines, take the deposit first. I'll take the other part after I help you solve the problem. Wang Wu's mouth twitched. Point well, although the young leader is not a murderous nymphomaniac, he is a greedy businessman. You have the final say. Wan Wu had already begun to feel pain in his body. Chapter 65. A leisurely life in the end of the world. You guys should have accumulated a lot of cards all the way from Wang He. Do you have a lot of these blank silver cards? Qin Lang took out a silver card from the storage space and handed it over. This Wang Wu was stunned and nodded repeatedly. There are indeed, and there are quite a lot of them. I never knew what they were used for. Qin Lang smiled. Its function is to take out your enhanced silver card and below talents. Since your current problem is that you have learned too many messy talents and skills, resulting in overload of enhancement, then you only need to take out some useless ones. Wouldn't it be enough to stop the body from being overloaded? It's this so simple. Wan Wu was a little dumbfounded. Otherwise, how complicated do you think it is? Qin Lang squinted his eyes. I have a lot of blank silver cards here. I'm willing to exchange them for gold cards with you at a ratio of 21. Do you want to consider it? Wang Wu smiled bitterly. Your ratio is too bad. If it were 3:1, I would consider it. I see that you are also a real person, so I changed it. Qin Lang stood up and shook hands with Wan Wu. By the way, I also accept paid enhanced direction planning. If you are interested, you can come to consult me. 1 gold card will be charged each time. Strengthen direction planning? What do you mean? Wan Wu was a little confused. After all, he was just a pitiful and helpless physical education teacher with muscles in his brain. To put it simply, it is to use the fewest cards to build the strongest warrior. Make sure that each talent and skill can complement each other, so that your team can exert the strongest combat power in battle. Wang Wu's eyes shone in confusion. I really want to ask you to make plans, but we don't have many gold cards in our hands. I'm afraid it's hard to just exchange for silver cards. That's it. Let's talk about it then. Chenghu, you need to pay 10 gold cards for this consultation. Okay, Wang Wu felt distressed. Point outside An's cabin. Teacher Wang. As soon as Wang Wu walked out of the hut, he saw his students standing not far from him, surrounded by dozens of people. /U003 CBR /U003 Wang Wu was shocked and shouted angrily. What do you mean? Qin Lang raised his hand. Hey, Mr. Wang, don't get excited. I don't have any ill intentions. If I really want to kill people and steal goods, they will not be brought back. Wang Wu then Qin Lang smiled and said, this is the end of the world. You must not have the intention of harming others, and you must have the intention of guarding against others. I don't like things to be out of control. Do you understand what I mean? Wang Wu nodded. They are all my students. Don't hurt them. Old Lee, pull back. Qin Lang shouted and pulled everyone back. When talking to Wang Wu just now, Laoli and Zhu Yun had already told him the process through spiritual communication. The two sides did not fight at all. Although each of these students looked very scary, with either 3,000 or 4,000, they were actually not strong. Their monitor, Dujun, a young man in a windbreaker, competed with Laoli and was easily manipulated. Just let the students surrender, because Dujun is a smart man. he can see that this group of people is not comparable to the shelter soldiers he encountered in the past and is obviously several levels higher. You guys okay? Wang Wu was a little worried. Boss, we are all fine. They mean no harm. They even said they would treat us to hot pot later, Du Jun said with a smile. Wang Wu nodded. It's fine. Boss, did he tell you the solution? Well, that's Wang Wu told Qin Lang's original words to his classmates. But we don't have that many gold cards at the moment. This chapter is not finished yet. Click on the next chapter to continue reading chapter 65. Leisurely apocalyptic life. We can only solve the problem one by one temporarily, and we will deal with it later. While the students were talking, everyone in the shelter had already vacated a large tent at Qin Lang's signal, and all kinds of hot pot ingredients were placed on the table. Fresh pork, beef, and mutton rolls, various vegetables, and mushrooms are all available. The most mouth-watering thing is of course the delicious-looking red oil pot bottom, Gilu. Wang Wu swallowed deeply and spit. Lao Li said carelessly, our boss said that when guests come, they must be entertained with good wine and good food. If the enemy comes, he must be given a taste of big dick. Since you are guests, please come in. Wang Wu bowed deeply. Thank you, Boss Qin. Qin Lang chuckled. You're welcome. Just eat and drink enough. This is the most basic thing, Boss. Qin, what are you doing? Du Jun has a bit of a personality and is very outgoing. Oh, let's get some barbecue. We are tired of hot pot. Wang Wu, Du Jun, 66. Students. What are versa ills? At first, the students were a little cautious about eating and drinking, but after drinking 2 ounces of white wine, the students could no longer hold back and let themselves go and showed their true selves. Lin Mo, Wu Fa, and Wu Shan were all students, a few years older than them, and they quickly integrated in and chatted happily with each other. But this is the end of the world after all, and many people have lost their loved ones. After drinking and eating, some people started to cry. What do I mean? People can't eat too much. When people are hungry, they only have one worry, but after they are full, they will breed countless worries. Qin Lang clicked his tongue and continued to play video games on the big screen. It's called Baldur's Gate 10. Lin Wayne chuckled. Then do you still want to starve them? /U003CBR /U003E. If you keep crying and ruining my mood, I will starve them. Qin Lang laughed. There's something I haven't told you. Oh, what's the matter? I'm going to sleep in the free room tonight. Why? I plan to make a place for Chenzu. Qin Lang frowned. Huh? Lin Wana said happily. Look at your expression. Chenzu has been interested in you for more than a day or two. A man as powerful as you is worth having. Don't worry about me. No. Qin Lang shook his head. I didn't mean that. I just thought that if you are so sensible, how could I bear to let you sleep in another room? Our bed is not big enough. Lin Wana came over and said, you just be bad. Even if I'm embarrassed, Chenzu is embarrassed. I don't care about that. Qin Lang hugged Lin Wana and pressed her heavily under him. Go and bring Chenzu in. Good. 10,000 words are omitted here. The next morning, Qin Lang appeared in the courtyard of an small house with Lin Wana in his left hand and Chenzu in his right hand. Lao Li was squatting by the well brushing his teeth. When he saw this, Qin Lang was not polite to him and kicked his butt hard. What the hell? I've never seen you so clean before. Hey, there is a woman in the house, so we must pay attention to hygiene. How are those students? They didn't cause any trouble, did they? It's okay. It's very safe. I went to bed after being tired last night. Ding Yuan was worried that it would be cold for them to sleep in the tent at night, so she brought a small son over there. Good. Qin Lang nodded. This life is so comfortable. Chapter 66. The Disappearing Team. After washing up in In's cabin, Qin Lang put on his down jacket and opened the door and walked out. Anu has its own temperature adjustment system. This system is much better than central air conditioning. As long as the battery is sufficient, it can always maintain the most comfortable temperature for the human body. Once the door is opened, it will be different. There is a temperature difference of nearly 60 degrees between the inside and outside of the house. Did you have a good rest yesterday? Qin Lang waved his hand to the group of students and immediately received enthusiastic responses from the students, saying that they had eaten well and slept soundly, and thanked Brother Qin for the hospitality. Boss Qin, I have something to discuss with you. It may be a bit abrupt. If there is anything I said wrong, please don't take it personally, Wang Wu said hesitantly. You tell me first. Now, let me make it clear first that, as long as it's not about borrowing a card, everything else can be discussed. In the end times, cards are everything. Wang Wu smiled and said, that's not true. We are a little tired physically and mentally after driving all the way here. I want to take the children to rest at your place for a while before leaving. That's no problem, Qin Lang cheered. What do I think is going on? I'm so nervous. You can stay here as long as you want. I'm responsible for the heating, but your food, it's not that Qin Lang can't afford the food. In fact, the supply cards he seized during the battle at the giant arm lair were enough for 180 people to use for more than half a year. But why? They are not their own people. Wang Wu hurriedly said, no need for that. We will find a way ourselves. I've already lived in yours. If I eat yours again, no matter how thick-skinned I am, I won't be able to do such a thing. If you need any help, just ask. In the last days, everyone still has to hug each other for warmth. Qin Lang patrolled around the shelter, stuffed some corpses into the storage space, and soon returned to An's cabin to live. You can play games too. Qin Lang's eyes lit up when he looked at Chen Zhu, who was holding the controller and playing hard. Chen Zhu threw it away in panic. He stood up and said cautiously, I like playing games very much. When I was studying, I also did live broadcasts to make some pocket money. I have more than 400,000 fans. Oh, then you are really quite an internet celebrity. Have you ever played this game called It Works as a Couple or as a single player? I've played it before. Come on, let's get started. Okay, I really envy you for being able to play games. Linwana is a game idiot and can only watch helplessly. This is really not her strong point, and she doesn't know what fun games are. Who told you not to play games more when you were in school? You can't keep up now. Disgusting. Linwana angrily kicked Qin Lang with her little foot. Time flies, and a week passes without realizing it. Qin Lang's life during this period can be said to be quite regular. Every day when he opens his eyes, he plays games and watches movies. When he is tired from playing, he sleeps with the two girls under the quilt. When he wakes up, he repeats yesterday's daily routine and enjoys it. It's not that Qin Lang is proud and complacent and has lost the motivation to fight. There are really no monsters for him to kill, so he finally settled down and can't enjoy life. Besides, the temperature outside has almost dropped to -40 degrees. Unless they are about to starve to death, who would go hunting in such an extreme climate? Diddy Qin Lang was sleeping when he suddenly heard the doorbell. He looked up and saw that it was Wang Wu. He was standing at the door shivering. Boss Qin, I want to discuss something with you. This chapter is not finished. Click the next chapter to continue reading chapter 66. The disappearing team come in. Qin Lang opened the door and let Wang Wu in. He strolled into the courtyard wearing short-sleeved shorts. What's wrong? Wang Wu moved his hands and feet and said, that's it. I want to exchange some ammunition cards with you. Isn't it snowing? There are a lot of monsters popping up. I plan to take the students to hunt. If we continue like this, we will have nothing to eat. Sooner or later, there will be a day of running out of ammunition, but I really don't have much ammo. It's snowing. Qin Lang stretched. He didn't know about this at all. No problem, it's just ammunition cards. I will personally sponsor you 200. Ah. Thank you so much. Wang Wu was ecstatic. 200 ammunition cards were enough to last for a while. I have a condition that I can take my people with me to do some activities. I'm afraid they will get rusty. Absolutely. No problem. Wang Wu agreed without thinking. Originally this was just an ordinary hunting activity, but until the next night, Wang Wu and his group of nearly 100 people did not come back. I made an agreement with Wang Wu to contact me every 3 hours at most. Now he has lost contact with me for 6 hours. There must have been an accident. Laoli was very anxious because Hu Chunli was a little uneasy at Mzarao. Yi also went with Wang Wu and the others. Zhu Yun frowned and said, "This is really strange. A team of more than 100 people is well equipped and has rich combat experience. Unless Wang Wu takes the wrong medicine and leads them to attack the giant arm nest, there is no way any monster can threaten them. I can handle it, even if it's a zombie wave. Boss, what do you think?" Qin Lang closed his eyes and pondered, but did not answer Zhu Yun's words. He also vaguely felt that something was wrong, but he couldn't figure out what happened to Wang Wu and his party, even if he tried hard. Second stage in the end times, the most terrifying thing besides the extreme cold is the giant arm's nest. If there is anything that can threaten the team of 100 people, it is the leader level monster in the giant arm's nest, but that kind of monster usually only moves in or near the giant arm's nest, and Wang Wu will never go there to die. Could they be attacked by a shelter? Lin Wana thought of a possibility. This possibility cannot be ruled out. In short, no matter what they encounter, we can't wait any longer. Let Lin Mo prepare the car and we will set off. Lin Mo is also in the team, and Wu Fa and Wu Shan also went with him. Zhu Yun smiled bitterly. "You mean, there are only 6 of us left in the shelter?" "Yes." Qin Lang pinched his brows. Let's go, I'll drive." "Then, what about the Inzao hut? With the current means of human beings, it is basically impossible to crack the access control, and violent invasion is even more a fantasy." Qin Lang was not worried about the invasion of the Inzao hut. This thing can withstand nuclear bomb attacks. Lao Li's attack power is terrifying enough, but if he wants to break the door of the Inzao hut, he will have to smash it for at least a year or 2 without eating or drinking. At that moment, Qin Lang took 5 people to board the sturdy RV and tracked along the tire marks. The snow was still falling outside the window, but fortunately it was not heavy and it did not completely cover the marks, so it was not difficult to track. As for the many monsters encountered along the way, Qin Lang chose to avoid them. They went out this time to save people, not to hunt, and the priorities were clear. Just like driving all the way, a few hours later, the RV stopped in a corner of a city, where a large-scale gunfight had obviously occurred. There were a large number of monster corpses piled in front of them, and the cards in the corpses had been taken away. It was obviously done by Wang Wu and his men. Chapter 67 Mushroom Cave. It's already so dark. Should we take a rest here and wait until daybreak to continue searching? Zhu Yun said suddenly. It was already 11 o'clock in the evening. Apart from the howling cold wind and the roar of monsters in the distance, there was no other sound. The temperature had reached -43 degrees, which was extremely close to the extreme temperature of the second stage of the apocalypse. Qin Lang thought for a while and shook his head. Now we don't know what Wang Wu and the others are going through. Find them earlier to save worry and get in the car. Qin Lang drove the small RV and continued to follow the traces. 3 or 4 hours after driving, the ground in front suddenly turned into a huge pothole. Qin Lang reacted quickly enough and stepped on the brakes immediately, but it was of no use. The next moment the person in the car fell down. "Fuck, you knocked me to death." Lao Li groaned in pain. Qin Lang kicked the door open and climbed out of the RV. Looking at the dreamlike scene in front of him, his eyes were suddenly full of surprise. Mushroom Cave? Is there really such a place? Qin Lang rubbed his eyelids vigorously, and the rumors related to the Mushroom Cave in his previous life emerged from the depths of his memory. It is rumored that under the apocalyptic wasteland, where monsters are rampant, there is a natural shelter called the Mushroom Cave. The existence time of each mushroom cave is not fixed. It may be as short as days, and as long as 7 or 8 months or even for a year. Each mushroom cave contains sufficient food and treasures. Oh my god, what a beautiful place is this. Lin Wana looked at the shiny mushroom-shaped plant in front of her and exclaimed. The other people who came out of the car were also stunned. It's Lao Wang's snow chariot. Lao Li suddenly became more energetic and pointed at the scattered vehicles behind him. Obviously, Wang Wu's convoy suddenly collapsed when passing through this area. Otherwise the vehicles would not be scattered everywhere. They would be piled up together. Lao Li raised his head and looked up. The sinkhole, which should have been huge, was just like the mouth of a well. You can imagine how deep the sinkhole was, and it would be difficult to climb out. Boss, you know a lot about what these soft things are. Leo Lee stepped on the mushroom under his feet and immediately made a doong-doong sound. It looks like a mushroom to me, so be careful. There may not be anything here. Qin Lang pulled out the flying sword Yarngren and let it hover around his body, warning everyone to be vigilant. A group of 6 people walked along the road illuminated by mushrooms. Along the way, they encountered many strange mushrooms, some of which Qin Lang had seen in the Doomsday Encyclopedia, and some of which were unfamiliar to him. This mushroom is so cute. It's red and looks like an apple. I wonder if it can be eaten. Leo Lee said, pointing to the fist-sized mushroom at his feet. Just as Qin Lang was about to remind him, Leo Lee had already pulled it out. Zzzz. Qin Lang shouted, throw it away, it's a bomb mushroom. As a throwing barbarian, Leo Lee had amazing arm strength. He threw the bomb mushroom directly, and then he saw a ball of fire exploding from midair, spreading out like fireworks, which was quite beautiful. I told you to stop fucking moving. Why didn't you listen? Qin Lang scolded. Hey, blame me, my hands are too weak. Leo Lee scratched his head. As punishment, I'll eat this mushroom, /U003CBR /U003 Qin Lang stuffed a black mushroom as thick as his thumb to Leo Lee. Leo Lee was stunned for a moment. What is this? Don't you know it? After you eat it? Well, Leo Lee knew that Qin Lang would definitely not harm him, so after hesitating for a moment, he swallowed the black mushroom into his stomach. Old Lee, what does this thing taste like? Zhu Yun asked curiously. I don't know how to describe it. This thing is a bit like eating preserved eggs. It stinks. If you don't believe me, smell my mouth. You stay away from me. Zhu Yun hurriedly avoided point. Qin Lang said with a bad smile. Li Zenki, tell me, what is the most embarrassing thing you have ever done in your life? Leo Lee seemed to be possessed. He stood up straight and said, the most embarrassing thing I have ever done in my life is, when I was driving as a substitute, I stole money from a drunk boss, and then used his money to find a young lady. But that lady was sick, and I spent tens of thousands of dollars on treatment to cure her illness. The 3 ladies, Lin Wana, Ding Yuan, and Chen Zhu, collectively expressed contempt. Qin Lang and Zhu Yun laughed together. What the hell did I say? No, boss, what on earth are you talking about? Leo Lee's face turned red. The one I gave you is called the truth mushroom. After eating it, you can make people tell the truth. Qin Lang pointed to the one with a circle on it. This is called a negative mushroom. You don't need to eat it. People will become very negative after touching it. It usually lasts for 10 seconds to a few minutes. Leo Lee smiled and said, it's so interesting. An optimistic person like me will definitely not be negative. Let me try. After saying that, he reached out to touch, and then, he knelt down in front of Qin Lang and slapped himself hard. I'm sorry for being a waste. A waste like me doesn't deserve to live in this world. Why do they all die? No, I'm not dead. Why should I? Let me die. I really don't want to live anymore. I really don't want to waste this precious air on the earth. Everyone. Fuck, it was so scary. I really couldn't feel the fun just now. I really wanted to die. Leo Lee may have a positive personality. He woke up in less than a minute, patted his chest, and shouted that he was afraid. Okay, now is not the time to classify mushrooms. The most important thing is to find Wang Wu and the others. Qin Lang took a deep breath and shouted Wang Wu. The voice drifted to the deepest part of the mushroom cave. After waiting for a long time, no one responded. Go further in. The group continued to move forward. After 2 hours, Qin Lang found a misty lake in front of them. Dozens of men and women were lying on the edge of the lake. Chun-Li. Old Li saw Hu Chun-Li at a glance. Just as he was about to go in, he was pulled by Qin Lang. Wait a minute. This fog is wrong. Look at them. Looking in the direction of Qin Lang's finger, colorful mushrooms grew on everyone's body. They dead. Not dead. They are all breathing. They should be poisoned by mushrooms. Qin Lang has read the encyclopedia, which has relevant records. People who are poisoned by this mushroom toxin will not die in the short term, but if they are not treated for a long time, the mushrooms growing on the skin will absorb nutrients and die completely. This process will last for about a week. It's so dark now. Should we rest here and continue looking when it gets light? Zhu Yun suddenly said. It was already 11 o'clock in the evening. There was no other sound except the howling cold wind and the roar of monsters in the distance. The temperature reached -43 degrees, which was infinitely close to the extreme temperature of the second stage of the apocalypse. Qin Lang thought about it and shook his head. Now we don't know what Wan Wu and the others are going through. Find them earlier and save your worries earlier. Get in the car. Qin Lang drove the RV to continue tracking the traces. After driving for 3 or 4 hours, the ground in front suddenly turned into a huge pit. Qin Lang reacted quickly enough and stepped on the brakes at the first time, but it was useless. The next moment, he fell down with the car. Fuck, I'm going to die. Old Lee groaned in pain. Qin Lang kicked open the car door and climbed out of the RV. Looking at the dreamlike scene in front of him, his eyes were suddenly filled with surprise. Mushroom Cave? There really is such a place. Qin Lang rubbed his eyelids hard, and the rumors about mushroom caves in his previous life emerged from the depths of his memory. It is said that under the apocalyptic wasteland, where monsters are rampant, there is a natural shelter called Mushroom Cave. The existence time of each mushroom cave is not fixed. The shortest may be only a day, and the longest can reach 7 or 8 months or even a year. Each mushroom cave contains sufficient food and treasures. Oh my god, what is this beautiful place, Lin? Wana exclaimed as she looked at the shiny mushroom-shaped plant in front of her. The rest of the people who came out of the car were also stunned. It's Leo Wang's snow chariot. Old Lee suddenly got excited and pointed at the scattered vehicles behind him. Obviously, Wan Wu and his team's convoy suddenly collapsed when passing through this area. Otherwise the vehicles would not be scattered everywhere. They would be piled up together. Thank God. Old Lee looked up and saw that the Xiangkeng, which should have been huge, was now like a wellhead. You can imagine how deep the pit was. It would be difficult to climb out. Boss, you are knowledgeable. What are these soft things? Old Lee stepped on the mushrooms under his feet and immediately made a duong-duong sound. It looks like mushrooms to me. Be careful. There may not be anything here. Qin Lang pulled out the flying sword Yangren and let it hover around his body, warning everyone to be vigilant. The 6 people walked along the road illuminated by mushrooms. On the way, they encountered many strange mushrooms, some of which Qin Lang had seen in the encyclopedia of the end of the world, and some of which were unfamiliar to him. This mushroom is so cute, red and like an apple. I wonder if it can be eaten. Laoli pointed to the fist-sized mushroom at his feet and said. Qin Lang was about to remind him, but Laoli had already pulled it out. Zzzz, Qin Lang shouted, throw it away quickly, it's a bomb mushroom. As a throwing barbarian, Laoli had amazing arm strength. He threw the bomb mushroom directly out, and then saw a ball of fire exploded from the air, spreading like fireworks, and it was quite beautiful. I told you to stop moving, why didn't you listen? Qin Lang scolded. Hey, blame me, I'm too handy. Laoli scratched his head. Punish. You. Eat this mushroom. /U003CBR/U003E. Qin Lang stuffed a black mushroom as thick as a thumb to Laoli. Laoli was stunned. What is this? You'll know after you eat it. Leo. Lee knew that Qin Lang would definitely not hurt him. After hesitating for a while, he swallowed the black mushroom fiercely. Old Lee, what does this thing smell like? Zhu Yun asked curiously. I don't know how to describe it. It's a bit like eating preserved eggs. It's stinky. If you don't believe me, smell my mouth. Stay away from me. Zhu Yun hurriedly dodged. Qin Lang smiled evilly and said, Li Zenki, tell me, what is the most embarrassing thing you have done in your life? Old Lee seemed to be possessed by evil spirits, and his body stood straight and said, the most embarrassing thing you have done in your life. Embarrassing thing I have done in my life was, when I was a chauffeur, I stole the money of a drunk boss, and then used his money to find a lady, but the lady was sick, and later I spent tens of thousands of dollars to cure the disease. The 3 ladies, Lin Wana, Ding Yuan, and Chen Zhu, collectively expressed contempt. Qin Lang and Zhu Yun laughed together. What the hell did I say? No, boss, what on earth are you talking about? Laoli's face turned red. The one I gave you is called the truth mushroom. After eating it, you can make people tell the truth. Qin Lang pointed to the one with a circle on it. This is called a negative mushroom. You don't need to eat it. People will become very negative after touching it. It usually lasts for 10 seconds to a few minutes. Laoli smiled and said, "It's so interesting. An optimistic person like me will definitely not be negative. Let me try." After saying that, he reached out to touch, and then, he knelt down in front of Qin Lang and slapped himself hard. "I'm sorry for being a waste. A waste like me doesn't deserve to live in this world. Why do they all die? No, I'm not dead. Why should I? Let me die. I really don't want to live anymore. I really don't want to waste this precious air on the earth. Everyone. Fuck, it was so scary. I really couldn't feel the fun just now. I really wanted to die." Lee may have a positive personality. He woke up in less than a minute, patted his chest, and shouted that he was afraid. Okay, now is not the time to classify mushrooms. The most important thing is to find Wang Wu and the others quickly. Qin Lang took a deep breath and shouted Wang Wu. The voice floated to the deepest part of the mushroom cave, and no one responded. After waiting for a long time, walk further inside. The group continued to move forward, and after 2 hours of walking, Qin Lang found a mist-shrouded lake ahead, with dozens of men and women lying on the edge of the lake. "Ah, Chun-Li." Laoli saw who Chun-Li at a glance. Just as he was about to go in, he was grabbed by Qin Lang. "Wait a minute. There's something wrong with this fog. Look at their bodies." Looking in the direction of Qin Lang's finger, colorful mushrooms grew on everyone. "They shouldn't be dead. They are not dead. They are all breathing. They must have been poisoned by mushroom toxins." Qin Lang had read the encyclopedia and there were relevant records in it. People infected with this mushroom toxin will not die in the short term, but if they do not receive treatment for a long time, the nutrients will be absorbed by the mushrooms growing on the skin and the person will die completely. This process will last about a week. Chapter 68 Panel Mirror and Mushroom Man. What do we do now? Everyone turned their attention to Qin language. "Don't worry, I have a solution." Qin Lang rummaged in the storage space for a while, and finally took out a gold card, and handed it to Ding Yuan. "Toxin. Antibodies?" Ding Yuan took the card, and looked at it. "Is it for me?" Qin Lang nodded. "You have toxin resistance. After becoming a lizard man, coupled with this toxin antibody, you can basically be immune to most of the current toxins. It is best for you to find a poisoner suitable." "Okay." Ding Yuan tore up the card without thinking, and a dark green light flashed across her body. "You transform first, and then go into the poisonous mist to take a look." But Ding Yuan's trust in Qin Lang was no less than that of Zhu Yan, and she immediately turned into a lizard man, and she walked incautiously. Point at this time, the advantage of Team Glory is revealed. It can directly carry out barrier-free spiritual communication. Otherwise, after Ding Yuan becomes a lizard, there will be huge communication barriers between them. Tinian toxin is indeed ineffective for me, but what should I do now? Qin Lang carried them out of the poisonous fog first. Ding Yuan is fine. The giant lizard man turned into by Ding Yuan quickly carried Hu Chun-Li and a female student out, and gently placed them on the open space. Since Qin Lang customized a set of BD for her, Ding Yuan's physical strength and strength are absolutely it is sufficient and there is basically no chance of losing strength. "Ding Yuan, let me continue." After saying that, she dove in and began to carry people out one after another. Chun-Li. Laoli nervously hugged Hu Chun-Li, whose face was covered with mushrooms, and almost burst into tears. As the saying goes, over time, he has developed deep feelings for Hu Chun-Li. "Don't touch the mushrooms on her." Qin Lang reminded that the mushroom-like things on these people are actually part of the body. Only by eliminating the poisoner can they be completely cured. Otherwise, they can only use special toxin serum. This thing is a gold card. Qin Lang has less than 20 in total, and he doesn't want to use them here. Ding Yuan was very agile and quickly transported 40 or 50 men and women out of the lake. Ding Yuan, I checked. There are only so many people around here. I don't know where the others are. Have you looked for it in Qin Lang Lake? Ding Yuan, I was born a landlubber and can't swim. Qin Lang was speechless. This time he pulled out 2 gold cards for Ding Yuan. One was Diver Dave and the other was Fish Lung Holder. The former can give the enhancer strong diving ability, while the latter can greatly increase the breath holding time. The 2 cards are matching, and have a front chain lock effect. Ding Yuan was overjoyed. I understand. No wonder you haven't given me more cards. It turns out you have left room for improvement for me. Qin Lang. Of course. A strong team must not only be able to withstand and fight, but also be able to cope with various environments. Go down and have a look. If you encounter a monster that you can't deal with, come up quickly, and we will come in immediately to deal with it. You point. Hello Ding Yuan. The lizard man rushed into the fog, and soon heard the sound of heavy objects falling into the water. After about 7 or 8 minutes, the originally thick poisonous mist suddenly became thinner. Immediately afterwards, the mushrooms on the faces of Hu Chunli and the others began to slowly wither and shrink. What's going on? Why is this happening suddenly? This is you. You have to ask Ding Yuan what she must have done. Zhu Yunian, what are you doing? The poisonous fog dissipated. Ding Yuan, hey, I'm coming up. Look what I got. Puff. The lizard man jumped to the shore with a large amount of lake water and saw that it was holding a half-human tall, very anthropomorphic mushroom-shaped creature in its right hand. It had obviously been knocked unconscious, and its 2 eyes were in the shape of an X. As soon as I entered the water, this mushroom man attacked me and sprayed poison in my face. I punched it a few times in anger, and then it became like this. I don't know whether it is dead or not. Ding Yuan, who returned to human form, taking the blanket handed over by Zhu Yun and wrapping it around his body, he said excitedly, by the way, I also found 2 things under the lake. I threw them into the storage space. Qin Lang was delighted and directly used his authority to open Ding Yuan's storage box. Sure enough, he found 2 things inside. One was a sparkling standing mirror and a golden box. Holy shit! Exclamation mark. I'm rich. Qin Lang almost jumped up with excitement and took out both things. Damn it, is this mirror so awesome? You can see what talents I have learned, Laoli said. The smile on Qin Lang's face could no longer be hidden. This is called a panel mirror, a dark gold tool. We have made a fortune. The panel mirror, as the name suggests, can reflect everyone's attribute panel, and the most incredible function is that you can access any talents and skills by just consuming the silver card battery. In other words, with this mirror, Qin Lang can adjust everyone's talents and skills to the best state with minimal loss. The long-term strategic significance will not be less than the glory of the team. Ah, I understand. Chen Zhu slapped her palm. Just like when we play games, we can reconstruct the character's background. Clever. Qin Lang gave a thumbs up. Then, this box is. Several people looked at the golden box. If I'm not wrong, the secret treasure inside should be mushrooms. Qin Lang rubbed his palms hard and came to the side of the mushroom-stunned man. Just when he was about to kill the mushroom man with a knife, the mushroom man who was unconscious a second ago woke up and shouted in horror, Jiligua la, Jiligua. His short arms and short legs kicked him wildly, tears streaming from his big eyes. Oh, is it crying? Zhu Yun was a little unsure. Qin Lang, can you please stop killing it? I think this mushroom is a bit cute. Lin Wayne begged. Girls her age and Chen Zhu's age often lack resistance to cute creatures, especially this mushroom man, which is half a meter tall, has a round body, short and stubby hands and feet, and indeed meets the definition of cute. As if the mushroom man could understand Lin Wana's words, he stopped struggling, turned his head away, and started crying towards Lin Wana. It seems to be able to understand human speech. Qin Lang let go of it, and then he saw the mushroom man rolling towards Lin Wana. Because he ran too fast, he accidentally fell and fell. Oh, I'm not afraid. I'm not afraid. I won't kill you. Oh, do you feel any pain? Lin Wayne rubbed the mushroom man's head distressedly. The mushroom man hugged Lin Wayne's thigh and cried, then pointed at the man lying on the ground. A group of people pointed at Ding Yuan again. Ding Yuan glared, and the mushroom man was so frightened that his eyes burst into tears again. It's so strange. I obviously didn't hear anything, but I understood what it meant. Lin Wana said with a surprised look on her face. What do we do now? Everyone turned their attention to Qin Language. Don't worry, I have a solution. Qin Lang rummaged in the storage space for a while, and finally took out a gold card and handed it to Ding Yuan. Toxin. Antibodies? Ding Yuan took the card and looked at it. Is it for me? Qin Lang nodded. You have toxin resistance after becoming a lizard man. Coupled with this toxin antibody, you can basically be immune to most of the current toxins. It is best for you to find a poisoner suitable. Okay. Ding Yuan tore up the card without thinking, and a dark green light flashed across her body. You transform first, and then go into the poisonous mist to take a look. But, Ding Yuan's trust in Qin Lang was no less than that of Zhu Yan, and she immediately turned into a lizard man, and she walked in cautiously. At this time, the advantage of Team Glory is revealed. It can directly carry out barrier-free spiritual communication. Otherwise, after Ding Yuan becomes a lizard, there will be huge communication barriers between them. Tinian toxin is indeed ineffective for me, but what should I do now? Qin Lang carried them out of the poisonous fog first. Hello Ding Yuan. The giant lizard man turned into by Ding Yuan quickly carried Hu Chunli and a female student out, and gently placed them on the open space. Since Qin Lang customized a set of BD for her, Ding Yuan's physical strength and strength are absolutely it is sufficient, and there will basically be no such situation as loss of strength. Ding Yuan, let me continue. After saying that, she dove in, and began to carry people out one after another. Chunli. Laoli nervously hugged Hu Chunli, whose face was covered with mushrooms, and almost burst into tears. As the saying goes, over time, he has developed deep feelings for Hu Chunli. Don't touch the mushrooms on her. Qin Lang reminded that the mushroom-like things on these people are actually part of the body. Only by eliminating the poisoner can they be completely cured. Otherwise, they can only use special toxin serum. This thing is a gold card. Qin Lang has less than 20 in total, and he doesn't want to use them here. Ding Yuan was very agile and quickly transported 40 or 50 men and women out of the lake. Ding Yuan, I checked. There are only so many people around here. I don't know where the others are. Have you looked for it in Qin Lang Lake? Ding Yuan, I was born a landlubber and can't swim. Qin Lang was speechless. This time he pulled out 2 gold cards for Ding Yuan. One was Diver Dave and the other was Fish Lung Holder. The former can give the enhancer powerful diving ability, while the latter can greatly increase the breath holding time. The 2 cards are matching, and have a front chain lock effect. Ding Yuan was overjoyed. I understand. No wonder you haven't given me more cards. It turns out you have left room for improvement for me. Qin Lang, of course. A strong team must not only be able to withstand and fight, but also be able to cope with various environments. Go down and have a look. If you encounter a monster that you can't deal with, come up quickly, and we will come in immediately to deal with it. You point. Hello Ding Yuan. The lizard man rushed into the fog, and soon heard the sound of heavy objects falling into the water. After about 7 or 8 minutes, the originally thick poisonous mist suddenly became thinner. Immediately afterwards, the mushrooms on the faces of Hu Chunli and the others began to slowly wither and shrink. What's going on? Why is this happening suddenly? This is you have to ask Ding Yuan what she must have done. Zhu Yunian, what are you doing? The poisonous fog cleared. Ding Yuan, hey, I'm coming up. Look what I got. Puff. The lizard man brought a large amount of lake water and jumped to the shore. It was seen that it was carrying a half-human tall, very anthropomorphic mushroom-shaped creature in its right hand. It had obviously been knocked unconscious, and its 2 eyes were X-shaped. As soon as I entered the water, this mushroom man attacked me and sprayed poison in my face. I punched it a few times in anger, and then it became like this. I don't know whether it is dead or not. Ding Yuan, who returned to human form, taking the blanket handed over by Zhu Yan and wrapping it around his body, he said excitedly, by the way, I also found 2 things under the lake. I threw them into the storage space. Qin Lang was delighted and directly used his authority to open Ding Yuan's storage box. Sure enough, he found 2 things inside. One was a sparkling standing mirror and a golden box. Holy shit, I'm rich. Qin Lang almost jumped up with excitement and took out both things. Damn it, is this mirror so awesome? You can see what talents I have learned, Laoli said. The smile on Qin Lang's face could no longer be hidden. This is called a panel mirror, a dark gold tool. We have made a fortune. The panel mirror, as the name suggests, can reflect everyone's attribute panel, and the most incredible function is that you can access any talents and skills by just consuming the silver card battery. In other words, with this mirror, Qin Lang can everyone adjusts talents and skills to the best state with minimal loss. the long-term strategic significance will not be less than the glory of the team. Ah, I understand. Chenzu slapped her palm. Just like when we play games, we can reconstruct the character's background. Clever. Qin Lang gave a thumbs up. Then this box is. Several people looked at the golden box. If I'm not wrong, the secret treasure inside should be mushrooms. Qin Lang rubbed his palms vigorously and came to the stunned mushroom man. Just when he was about to kill the mushroom man with a knife, the mushroom man who was unconscious a second ago woke up and screamed in horror. Jiligua la, Jiligua. His short arms and short legs kicked him wildly, tears streaming from his big eyes. Is it crying? Zhu Yun was a little unsure. Qin Lang, can you please stop killing it? I think this mushroom is a bit cute. Lin Wayne begged. Point girls her age and Chenzu's age often lack resistance to cute creatures, especially this mushroom man, which is half a meter tall, has a round body, short and stubby hands and feet, and indeed meets the definition of cute. As if the mushroom man could understand Lin Wana's words, he stopped struggling, turned his head away, and started crying towards Lin Wana. It seems to be able to understand human speech. Qin Lang let go of it, and then he saw the mushroom man rolling towards Lin Wana. Because he ran too fast, he accidentally fell and fell. Oh, I'm not afraid. I'm not afraid. I won't kill you. Oh, do you feel any pain? Lin Wana rubbed the mushroom man's head distressedly. The mushroom man hugged Lin Wana's thigh and cried, then pointed at the man lying on the ground. A group of people pointed at Ding Yuan again. Ding Yuan glared, and the mushroom man was so frightened that his eyes burst into tears again. It's so strange. I obviously didn't hear anything, but I understood what it meant. Lin Wana said with a surprised look on her face. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 69, Horrible Existence. It should be that this little mushroom man used skills like barrier-free communication on you. Qin Lang thought for a while and said, this kind of thing is going to happen in the middle and late stages of the apocalypse. There are some special monsters that will not only have spiritual communication or barrier-free communication with humans, but can even become humans' partners. Of course, this premises that humans must have skills and talents such as taming animals or summoning, and Zhu Yun is quite suitable for this path. What does it say? It said that it didn't mean to hurt these two-legged monsters. They broken first, and it had no choice but to fight back passively. Also, Lin Wana paused and smiled bitterly. It said that the lizard monster is the big bad guy. Ding Yuan glared at it, who said that. Jiligua. The mushroom man was obviously very afraid of Ding Yuan and hurriedly hid behind Lin Wana. Okay, don't scare it. Ask where the others are. Qin Lang laughed it off. Lin Wana communicated with the little mushroom man for a while and said, the rest of the people are chasing the lizard monster. Lizard monster? Are there other monsters besides mushrooms in this mushroom cave? Qin Lang was surprised. This was the first time he knew about this. Lin Wana said, it said that lizard monsters specialize in eating mushrooms and are the natural enemies of their clan. Its parents and relatives all died at the hands of lizard monsters. It is the last mushroom man. Then, let's go there quickly so that Wang Wu and the others won't be in any danger again. Qin Lang thought for a while, leaving Zhu Yun and Ding Yuan to take care of the injured, while he took Lioli, Lin Wana, Chen Zhu and the mushroom man to chase them along the road. The mushroom man looked clumsy, but in fact he didn't run very fast at all. Lin Wana was afraid that it would fall behind, so she simply hugged it and ran wildly, communicating while running, and then informed everyone of the information through spiritual communication. This chase lasted only half a day. Fortunately, everyone had strengthened their physical strength, otherwise they would have been exhausted just by rushing. Rumble. Just when Qin Lang was about to stop and let everyone rest, there was a sudden sound from the front. Loud noise. I'll go first, you guys follow. Qin Lang jumped forward and rushed forward. A few minutes later, Qin Lang arrived at the scene. At that time, more than 50 people led by Wang Wu were besieging groups of lizards. To be precise, they were crocodile-like creatures that had nothing to do with lizards. The huge open space was filled with monsters' bodies, but there seemed to be no casualties on Wang Wu's side. That's the nest, right? Qin Lang's pupils condensed, and there was a wall-like circular wall at the end of his field of vision. The wall was full of large and small holes, hundreds of them. It was obvious that the monsters crawled out of these holes. Such a creature. Qin Lang's brows tightened, and he suddenly remembered what this thing was called. In previous lives, people called this kind of monster the bee crocodile. It was a creature that did not have strong offensive and defensive capabilities, but was extremely numerous. It generally only lived underground, and it was almost impossible to see them on the ground. What worries Qin Lang is that according to the book, the crocodile is a gregarious creature, and there will be a crocodile king and a crocodile queen in every crocodile nest. But he didn't know how strong the crocodile king and crocodile queen were. After all, they were too rare and there were few relevant records. Wang Wu, Qin Lang stood on the mushroom and drawed point. When Wang Wu turned around and saw that it was Qin Lang, he couldn't help but be overjoyed. Boss Qin, why are you here? You have disappeared for so long. I don't trust you. It's Brother Qin. Brother Qin is here to save us. Students, all this chapter is not finished yet. Click on the next chapter to continue reading chapter 69. The existence of terror. Overjoyed, Lin Mo, Wu Fa, and Wu Shan were also in the team, all looking happy. Don't kill them. Leave quickly. The mushroom toxins on their bodies have been removed. Qin Lang weighed the pros and cons and still felt that it should not be too wasteful. In the second stage of the apocalypse, monsters on the ground can be killed at will, but the underground creatures that run through the middle and late stages of the apocalypse may not be so easy to deal with. Let's go later. The cards on these crocodiles are of very high quality. They are also green cards at the end. I got a lot of blue and silver cards. With the rise of Wang Wu's killing, only a fool would pass up the opportunity to make a fortune. I told you to just leave. What nonsense. These are just small ones. If we kill too many and provoke the big ones, we will all die. Qin Lang was a little angry. Upon hearing this, Wang Wu immediately signaled everyone to stop shooting. Are there any big ones? Then, to be on the safe side, we'd better retreat quickly. Xiaodu, you lead the team to pick up the cards, and we'll cover you. Class Monitor Dujun nodded and called on several classmates to search the corpses for loot. The scattered bee crocodiles got a chance to breathe and crawled back into their nests in embarrassment. Boss, we are rich. Look, Jinka. Dujun was overjoyed and raised his gold card high. No. Wang Wu Gang was about to say yes, but who could have imagined that the extremely thick spherical wall behind Dujun suddenly shattered, and a huge monster claw that could not be described in words stretched out from it, and he grabbed it. Dujun. Time seems to stand still at this moment. Dujun's smile was still on his face, but his body had been crushed into powder. There was no time to save him. Xiaodu. Wang Wu's eyes were red. Dujun was one of his favorite students. Come on. This is not something we can deal with now. Qin Lang took a breath. At the moment, when Dujun was crushed into powder, he felt a creepy feeling. His intuition told him that, if he stayed any longer, he would definitely die. The monster inside was definitely an existence that crushed everything. Oh my god. This monster. The combat power of this monster is actually 60,000. Someone in the team was wearing a combat power detector and exclaimed at this time. What is the concept of 60,000? No concept. This is not an existence that humans can conquer at this stage. It is a terrifying creature like a god. Run, Qin Lang turned around and ran without thinking, just in time to meet Lin Wana, Chen Zhu and others who were rushing over. Qin Lang shouted, if you don't want to die, run. Use all your strength, run. The reaction of the crowd was fast enough, but there were still more than a dozen students and members of the original Zuyun team who fell behind and were caught by the giant claw. They didn't even have the chance to struggle and scream, and they were directly crushed into powder and dimensionality reduction. Fortunately, the terrifying existence seemed to have a limited attack range. Qin Lang ran for only a few minutes before the terrifying aura disappeared, but he did not dare to stop and rushed back to the lake in one breath. At this time, the people who were poisoned and unconscious had woken up, but their bodies were relatively weak. The little mushroom said it had a way to send us out, so let us follow it. Lin Wana said. The group came to the place where the vehicle fell, and at the signal of the little mushroom, they stood on the huge mushrooms. The little mushroom's mushroom danced a strange dance on the spot, and then the mushroom began to grow upwards, and soon sent everyone back to the ground covered with snow. It's all my fault. I shouldn't be greedy. Everyone should be grateful for escaping death. But Wan Wu suddenly knelt down and cried bitterly. Chapter 70. Reconstructing the deck. Dual core. Heart does not exist. Qin Lang is the absolute core of the team. The stronger he is, the stronger the team is. Besides, who would take the dark gold set card and give it to others? This is not a stupid thing. Come, let me hug you. Qin Lang called the little mushroom man over. The little mushroom man was very smart and knew that Qin Lang was the leader of the team. He came to Qin Lang obediently. Qin Lang rubbed the little mushroom man's head and understood why Lin Wana couldn't put it down. The feel of this thing was so great. Awesome. Very bouncy. A bit like the pinballs we played when we were kids. Qin Lang rubbed the little mushroom man's face into the shape of a love heart and said happily, "Hey, how about we call him Q-Boy from now on?" "Okay. I was wondering what to name it." "Q-Boy sounds great." Lin Wana was the first to raise her hand in agreement. The little mushroom man didn't seem to be satisfied with the name Qze, but that didn't matter. No one asked him for his opinion. Silently all the way, everyone returned to the shelter. It had only been a day since they left, and except for some snow, nothing had changed. "You guys wait for me outside." Qin Lang entered the Anu alone. What he has to do now is to use the panel mirror to optimize his talents and skills, such as the original golden card punch fighter, night vision, super physical strength, dangerous intuition, sharpshooter, etc., which should be kept. Keep it. Give it up. Give it up. After all, there are better alternatives. The most important thing is that except for a few necessary passives, the gold card category can no longer catch his eye point. Since Qin Lang's core cards only have 8 meridians and Mushroom Man, it is very simple to build. It took him less than an hour to build himself a set of 9-sided warriors with 2 cores and no shortcomings. Qin Lang's current strengthening status. The way to become a key practitioner: color card, spiritual pull, color card, air control, gold card, 8 meridians, LV2 mushroom herder path, dark gold, mushroom herder, color card, mushroom throwing, color card, mushroom ray, color card, mushroom eater, gold card, biologist, LV2 miscellaneous, dark gold, team glory, color card, holy slash, color card, super recovery body, gold card, super physical strength, LV4, gold card, sports talent, LV3, gold card, eagle eye, LV2, gold card, plague survivor, LV2. After hesitating for a long time, Qin Lang decided to abandon the sharpshooter and bullet resistance aura. Although the latter is a color card, for now, ordinary firearms are not a big threat to him. There is no need to waste this color card position. It is more appropriate to give it to Lin Wana or Chen Zhu. As for abandoning the sharpshooter, it is mainly because he has the mushroom throwing. Although he doesn't know how powerful it is definitely more powerful than the gold card, and he no longer lacks long range attack means. Let's do this first and help others. Qin Lang stretched and walked out the door. At this time, a group of people in the tent outside the door were wearing combat power detectors and whispering, "Don't cheat if you lose." "Who are you looking down on? Whoever cheats is a dog." I bet that after the boss is strengthened this time, his combat power can reach at least 7,000. You underestimate the boss too much. I bet 0. Qin Lang just came out of the door and heard the sound of beep beep beep. When he saw what everyone was doing, he couldn't help laughing. "You bunch of idiots. Aren't you bored?" "His fucknimmer. Is this true?" He was responded by a lot of gasps. Chapter 71. Laoli's choice. To say it's outrageous, it has to be you. Laoli looked up to the sky and shouted, 9 combat power. I have a biological mother. That's right. After readjusting talents and skills through the panel mirror, Qin Lang's combat power has almost doubled at this time, soaring directly from 5500 to an incredible level of 9. In fact, Qin Lang has reservations. He deliberately did not let his combat power exceed 10,000 because he knew that once his combat power exceeded 10,000, there is a high probability that the cards he consumes daily must be silver cards or above. For now, this is not possible, necessary, too luxurious. The combat power detector is okay for detecting monsters, but it's unreliable for detecting people. Qin Lang had wanted to remind them of these words for a long time, and he just took advantage of today to say it. There are many auxiliary and passive talents that are not calculated into combat power. If you really use combat power as the criterion for strength, you will be the one who suffers sooner or later. But it was already this time. How could everyone still have the intention to listen to this? They all stood up and asked Qin Lang to strengthen and reconstruct their innate skills. Laoli, Lao Zhu, and Ying, you three should stop joining in the fun. I built your talent. There is room for improvement. There is no need to rebuild it. At least I can't find a more perfect PD at the moment. Qin Lang's eyes fell on the two women Lin Wana and Chen Zhu. Come on, let me help you get your talents back. Lin Wana and Chen Zhu were overjoyed and quickly stepped forward to hold Qin Lang's arm. I hope that you two can always stay at the back of the battlefield as field control or long range attackers, so I plan to let you, Wana, become the long range attacker, and Zua, you will still be a battlefield musician as a pure support. Qin Lang expressed his thoughts. The two women had no objections to this. They are not stupid. They naturally know that Qin Lang does this to protect them to the greatest extent. Then, let me take out all Wana's talents and skills first. 2 hours later, Lin Wana and Chen Zhu both came out of N's cabin. There was another dripping sound outside, and Laoli drooled with envy. Before entering the house, Lin Wana's combat power was only over 2,000, but now it's 4,500. Chen Zhu originally only had more than 1,000, but now it has reached 4,700, and his combat power has increased by 5 times. This is the card Qin Lang asked us to give you. Lin Wana and Chen Zhu handed a bunch of gold cards to Laoli, Zhu Yun and Ying Yuan respectively. It's just one word. I'll only say it once. Laoli jumped up and down with excitement, while Hu Chun-Li, who was resting in the tent behind, saw a trace of imperceptible depression in her eyes. Night. Qin Lang was playing poker with the two women when he suddenly heard a quarrel in the yard. Qin Lang got dressed and came to the courtyard, where he saw Hu Chun-Li sitting on the ground covered in blood, her face swollen. Laoli was spitting and cursing, saying whatever was unpleasant and extremely dirty. Sister Chun-Li. Lin Wana wanted to help her, but was stopped by Qin language. He knows Li Zenki. This person has many shortcomings, but his mood is quite stable. It is probably not a trivial matter to make him lose control of his mood. Old Li, what happened? When Laoli saw Qin Lang coming out, he calmed down his manic emotions and lowered his voice and said, "It's nothing. It's just because we made some noise. I'm sorry, boss, for waking you up." "What's the matter?" Qin Lang asked with interest. This chapter is not finished yet. Click on the next chapter to continue reading chapter 71. Laoli's choice. Zhu Yun and Ying Yuan from the next room also walked out. They were very sensible and didn't speak. Hu Chun-Li didn't bother to wipe the blood on her face and said hurriedly, "I'm sorry, it's all my fault. I shouldn't have made Laoli angry. I deserve to be beaten. It's all my own fault." Qin Lang was silent and started spiritual communication. "Laoli, you are the person I trust most. I don't want you to hide anything from me. If you hide anything from me, no matter how strong the relationship between us is, I will let you leave the team." Qin Lang did not go behind the back of the other 3 people. It was a team chat rather than a private chat. Laoli was silent for a while. "Boss, I want to hide it from you." During dinner in the evening, Chun-Li was a little upset. I asked her, but she refused to say anything. "Just now she suddenly told me," she said, "you only have the eldest sister-in-law and the second sister-in-law in your eyes, and no brothers at all. Otherwise you would not treat them as brothers. His combat power has increased so much, but I only gave you some gold cards and let him go. I got into an argument with her because of this, and then I couldn't help but beat her up. I think she should not dare to do it again in the future." Qin Lang, hey, I thought it was too big of a deal to be so angry. Qin Lang closed the spiritual communication and said with a smile, "It's already getting up, so why not go for a walk? Come on." Qin Lang walked out of the door with a smile. Lin Wala and Chen Zhu hurriedly followed. After seeing this, Zhu Yun gave Hu Chunli a meaningful look and walked out of An's house with Ding Yuan in his arms. Everyone. Hu Chunli panicked and said, "Laoli, boss, what happened to him?" Laoli sighed, "What else can you do? You must be angry. I'm keeping you safe. Go out and have a look." Qin Lang, the leader of the group, rarely comes out at night. The sudden gathering of members frightened the others, and they all came out of the tent to ask what happened. Qin Lang didn't explain too much. He just said lightly, "What I hate most is backstabbing, especially some people, after getting the benefits that do not belong to them, want more. Laoli, since Hu Chunli is your woman, it is not convenient for me to take action. You kill her for me, in front of everyone." Laoli was shocked. "What? Boss, you, who?" Chunli was scared. "What? Boss?" Exclamation mark. Don't kill me. I won't dare to do it again. I drank at night. I was drunk. Those were all my drunken words. Laoli's body suddenly trembled. He really couldn't bear to let go. After all, the two have been together for so long. How could they say that there is no emotion? But Hu Chunli should not blow pillow talk and alienate the feelings between teammates. Thinking of this, Laoli closed his eyes suddenly and clenched his fists. "Laoli, open your eyes and look at me. I'm Chunli. I'm pregnant. Pregnant with your child." Hu Chunli cried. Old Li shuddered and tears fell like rain. I have a child. Yes, I'm really pregnant with your child." Old Li hugged Hu Chunli. It's great. Old Li, have a child. Haha. "Thank you, Chunli. If we hadn't met in the end of the world, it would be great." Hu Chunli cried. "Old Li, are you willing to forgive me? I will definitely be a good wife and mother." "Well, I forgive you. I believe in you. You will definitely be a good wife and mother. You will definitely be." Woo. Woo woo. Puff. Old Li suddenly slapped the back of Hu Chunli's head with a palm, smashing her brain together in this way. People should not feel pain. Old Li thought. Chapter 72. Sun Yan recommends herself. The cold wind blew, and the scene was silent. Everyone who saw this cruel scene was heartbroken. At the same time, everyone also had a deeper understanding of Qin Lang. He is a strong leader, a friendly leader, a humorous leader, a generous leader, but all of this is based on loyalty. Anyone who shows any disloyal behavior will be directly obliterated without mercy, even if it is a senior teammate like Hu Chunli who moved into Anhu early. Don't cry for too long and make people laugh. Qin Lang said something to Laoli, then turned to look at the group of students shivering in the cold wind, said nothing, and turned back to the house. This night, although Lin Wala and Chen Zhu didn't say anything, they worked harder than before and unlocked many new postures the next morning. When Qin Lang got up and washed up, he saw Laoli sitting in the yard drinking tea, looking listless. Hechu, spitting out the toothpaste in his mouth. Qin Lang said casually, "Our current team configuration is quite complete, including attack, defense, field control, and support. The only thing missing is a healer. You can go to Wang Wu's when you have time." Looking among the crowd of students, Laoli didn't understand it at first, but when he woke up, he said, "Huh," and said, "Isn't it appropriate? I'm already so old." Qin Lang smiled and scolded, "What are you thinking? I just asked you to find a therapist. Who asked you to talk about something you don't need? Of course, if the student's character is really good, just talk about it, and I won't stop you. Anyway, it's the end of the world. Who cares about age? It's just an equal exchange." Laoli rubbed his face and showed a wry smile. "Oh, got it. In fact, these 18 or 19-year-old students are much more proactive than Qin Lang thought." When Laoli went out for a walk at noon, several girls took the initiative to stick to him and called him Uncle Li one after another, which made Laoli shy. They all want to make up for Hu Chunli's vacancy. Although they had never entered An's cabin, they guessed you must have everything you want in the hut and lack nothing. Living in a tent and sleeping bag in an environment of dozens of degrees below zero is not as comfortable as sleeping in a house. Teacher Wang, are you feeling better, Deputy? Monitor Sun Yan walked into the tent carrying a bowl of warm preserved egg and lean meat porridge. After a night's rest, Wang Wu's energy recovered a lot, but he was still a little haggard. He hummed and motioned for Sun Yan to come over and sit down. "Do you have anything to do with me?" Wang Wu asked. After taking a sip of porridge. Sun Yan nodded. "I want to know, teacher, what do you think of brother Qin Lang?" Wang Wu was startled. "What do you mean, Sun?" Yan said. "Uncle Lee revealed information today that he is planning to promote a girl to be a therapist among us students. I want to give it a try." Wang Wu was furious. "Nonsense. Do you know what this means?" Sun Yan's eyes dimmed and she nodded. "You know, even though I'm only 18 years old, I know everything. Children like us who live in the internet environment are usually precocious. Isn't it just the thing between men and women? No, I can learn." "You're talking nonsense." Wang Wu smashed the porridge angrily. "Sun Yan, how could you, a beautiful quiet girl who is good at studying, think of doing this? Why, do you think I can't protect you, Sun?" Yan lowered her head and murmured, "How did Dujun die?" Wang Wu was choked and almost lost his breath. He stuttered for a long time and finally sighed. "I understand what you mean. Everyone, this chapter is not finished yet. Click on the next chapter to continue reading chapter 72. Sun Yan volunteered. "You have the right to choose. I'm neither your parent nor your relative. I can only give you my opinion." After these few days of getting along and observing, Qin Lang's team is very strong. Perhaps the strongest team in the last days. I can't afford to betray him. To play a role in the team, not only will he not do anything to you, but he will do his best to protect you. Sun Yan's eyes lit up. "Thank you, teacher, I understand." Wang Wu lowered his voice and said, "If you are determined and want to join Qin Lang's team, my advice to you is to rely on Qin Lang directly instead of looking for Lao Li." Lao Li said, "That Dacian is only the second in command, Sun." Yan frowned slightly, "But brother Qin already has sister Wana and sister Zhu by his side. You have your advantages. After all, you are only 18 years old. You are younger than them all. Thank you, teacher. I will never forget you." Sun Yan bowed deeply to Wang Wu and turned around to leave. Wang Wu reminded him, "No one likes someone who is too scheming. You don't need to set up a character. Just say whatever is on your mind, and it will make him trust you more. Do you understand what I mean?" "Yeah." Sun Yan nodded. "It's snowing outside again, and the snowflakes are falling." Sun Yan came to the door of N's cabin and rang the doorbell. "Hello, brother Qin. I heard from Uncle Lee that your team is short of a therapist, and I would like to recommend myself." After a few seconds of silence, the door of N's cabin opened. At that moment, a scent of earthy fragrance filled my heart. Sun Yan took a greedy breath of this long-lost breath and stepped inside. At the same time, when the girls who were getting close to Lao Li outside saw this scene, their eyes showed envy and jealousy. They are not stupid. How could they not know what Sun Yan was doing in N's cabin? She is a girl. What else can she do besides that? Shameless. Sun Yan, this bitch. When I was in class, I liked to pretend to be noble and innocent. But in the end, I didn't actively throw myself into my arms. How shameless. You have to be a bitch, and you still have to erect an arch. How disgusting." The low-pitched curses from several girls reached Old Lee's ears without any surprise. Old Lee was stunned for a moment and then laughed. "Wherever there are people, there are rivers and lakes. This sentence is absolutely correct." The student group, which was monolithic in times of crisis, was still unable to avoid intrigues in a relatively comfortable environment. This is what humans are. Anhad, in the courtyard. "It's so beautiful here." Sun Yan looked at the green vegetables and fruits in the courtyard and felt a warm breeze. The beautiful girl clenched her fists hard. She never wanted to leave this cabin, because this will be where she will live next. "Sun Yan, you can definitely do it, Sun." Yan silently encouraged herself in her heart. "Sun Yan, right? Sit down." Qin Lang walked out wearing a pair of flashy beach pants and a loose t-shirt and waved his hands lazily. "Okay, brother Qin." Sun Yan took her seat obediently. Qin Lang took out a cigarette and held it in his mouth, looking at the tall and beautiful female student in front of him. To be honest, he was not too impressed by Sun Yan. He only knew that her position in the student team seemed to be quite high, second only to you. Dujin is the third in command. You said you want to be a therapist for our team. Do you have any advantage over those girls outside? Or, let me put it more bluntly, why do you have it? Qin Lang asked with a smile. Chapter 73 Bullying. Sun Yan pursed her lips and said, before the end of the world, my grades were always around the 20th grade. Not only that, I was also very good at sports, and I could also play some musical instruments, such as piano, cucurbit flute, erhu, etc. If the apocalypse suddenly comes, there is a high chance that I will enter kingly. I'm very smart and learn things quickly. Why is it that you are good at studies, sports, and have so many specialties, but your class monitor is Dujun? Is he better than you? That's not the case. Sun Yan shook her head. My parents taught me when I was very young that any beauty in the forest will be destroyed by the wind. I don't want to compete with Dujun for the position of monitor. You don't want to grab it, or you can't grab it? Qin Lang smiled. This question caused Sun Yan to fall into silence for more than 10 seconds. After a long time, she said, okay, I can't get it. I have been excluded by my classmates in the class. They are jealous of my appearance and grades. And I'm not that kind of person. For students who waste time on interpersonal communication, I think students should focus on their studies, and school is not a place to make friends. It can be seen that your mental age is much more mature than that of your peers, but this cannot be a reason to convince me. At the current stage, it is not important to the team whether there is a therapist or not, but the further down the road, the worse the environment, the more important the therapist will be. They are absolutely indispensable to the team. Because of this, Qin Lang will not easily give this position to a female student. I am 18 years old this year. I'm young, obedient, and loyal. I hope Brother Qin can give me a chance. I want to live a better life than now. Everyone outside wants to live a better life. Do you know what it means that you came to me today? I'm mentally prepared. Sun Yan's cheeks turned red, and she awkwardly pulled down the zipper of her down jacket, revealing her white neck, which was covered with beads of sweat. She slowly slid down to the content that requires a fee to be viewed. Do you think I'm a stupid man with a spermatozoa who can't walk when he sees a woman? Qin Lang laughed loudly. Then you really underestimate me. Let's go. Don't be embarrassed here, brother. Qin, I told you to get out, and I don't want to say it a second time. Qin Lang's eyes turned cold, and Sun Yan couldn't help but take a breath, hurriedly bowed to apologize, and hurriedly left N's cabin. It wasn't until Sun Yan left that Lin Weiner came out and said with a smile, she is just a little girl who wants to fight for a better life for herself. Why do you treat her like this? Qin Lang touched Lin Weiner's smooth little hand. People won't cherish things that are too easy to get. Let's roast them on the fire for a while. Hey, aren't you afraid that if I take her in, it will threaten your position? Question mark. After all, he is only 18 years old. Lin Weiner chuckled. I'm loyal to you, and I was the first to follow you. Why should I be afraid that she will threaten me? Age is indeed a woman's advantage, but it is not a subordinate. I also have my advantages. I find that you are getting better and better at talking. Qin Lang nodded, smiled, and hugged Lin Weiner's waist. Let's go back to the house and sleep in the cage. Noon. The snow shows no signs of letting up. Sun Yan was sitting alone in the corner eating as usual. Today's lunch was instant noodles and ham sausage, which was enough to fill her stomach. Sun Yan, why did you go to N's cabin this morning? At this time, 5 girls came over and surrounded Sun Yan. I want to talk to Brother Qin about something. What's wrong? Sun Yan said calmly. Say something. Sun Yan, don't pretend now, we are classmates. Don't we still know who you are? Did you hear that Brother Qin is recruiting therapists, so he went to recommend himself? The girl sneered. Her name is Zhang Xingxing, and she is a famous female gangster in the school. Sun Yan was a little surprised. Zhang Xingxing, I underestimated you. I didn't expect that your grades were so poor, and you could still speak idioms. Who the hell are you scolding? Zhang Xingxing was furious. It's not that I have poor grades, I just don't want to learn. Okay, Sun Yan lowered her head. I was indeed looking for Brother Qin and wanted to join him, but was rejected. Zhang Xingxing laughed and said, just refuse. You think Brother Qin is blind? I can smell the filthy smell on your body through the door. Why are you pretending to be innocent? Who doesn't know that you are involved with the second highest boy, Mr. Kuo? I heard that I was pregnant and was stabbed by a man. Isn't it very satisfying? Don't talk nonsense. I have never known Kuo Shao. Sun Yan raised her head and said, actually, I know that it was you who spread this rumor. But I don't care anymore. Those who are clean will be cleansed. Is there anything you can do? It's okay. If so, I'm going to eat. Eat your mother. A round-faced girl next to Zhang Xingxing suddenly took out a kettle and poured the smelly yellow liquid inside into Sun Yan's bowl. Several girls laughed. A bitch like you only deserves to drink our urine. Drink it. Zhang Xingxing raised the corners of his mouth in a playful tone. Sun Yan did not argue with them. She stood up and wanted to leave. Two girls held her shoulders, one on the left and the other on the right. Sister Crossing didn't let you go. How dare you leave? Sun Yan said angrily. What on earth do you want to do? Don't even think about leaving until you finish eating this bowl of food. I'll call someone if you do this again. Calling someone. Shut her mouth. Immediately, a girl took dirty underwear and forced it into Sun Yan's mouth, then dragged her out of the tent. This scene was naturally seen by other students in the camp point, but no one wants to help her, isn't it? Just based on studying well and being beautiful? What's so great about it? He is born with a look of contempt for others and deserves to be bullied. NIU. I remember you chased Sun Yan. She was bullied and you didn't help? Several boys whispered. Help me. I chased her, but I was rejected. Sun Yan is a bitch. She is very hypocritical. If you don't like her, just don't like her. You have to say something. If you don't want to fall in love in high school, you have to study hard. She also said that if I could get into Kingby, she could consider dating me. Hahaha. Payback Kingby. With your scores, if you can score 400 points in the exam, it's just smoke coming out of your ancestral graves. No wonder you hate her so much. I understand. To hell with her. Grill the sausages. The intestines will burn. A clearing not far from the shelter. Crunch. Sun Yan was forced to kneel down, and her body sank deeply into the snow. She wanted to struggle, but there was no way. Her head and arms were controlled, and she couldn't move. Bitch, I gave you a chance, but you didn't succeed, so don't blame me. I must feed you today. As he spoke, Zhang Xingxing went to unbuckle his belt. The girls didn't notice that their every move had been recorded by a white mushroom covered in snow in the snow. Qin Lang didn't stop him. He just watched quietly as several girls insulted Sun Yan crazily. Sun Yan pursed her lips and said, before the end of the world, my grades were always ranked around the 20th grade. Not only that, I was also good at sports, and I could also play some musical instruments, such as piano, cucurbit flute, erhu, etc. If the apocalypse had not suddenly come, I would have a high probability of entering Kingby. I'm very smart and learn things quickly. Why is it that you are good at studies, sports, and have so many specialties, but your class monitor is Dujun? Is he better than you? That's not the case. Sun Yan shook her head. My parents taught me when I was very young that any beauty in the forest will be destroyed by the wind. I don't want to compete with Dujun for the position of monitor. You don't want to grab it, or you can't grab it? Qin Lang smiled. This question caused Sun Yan to fall into silence for more than 10 seconds. After a long time, she said, okay, I can't get it. I have been excluded by my classmates in the class. They are jealous of my appearance and grades. And I'm not that kind of person. For students who waste time on interpersonal communication, I think students should focus on their studies, and school is not a place to make friends. It can be seen that your mental age is much more mature than that of your peers, but this cannot be a reason to convince me. At the current stage, it is not important to the team whether there is a therapist or not, but the further down the road, the worse the environment, the more important the therapist will be. They are absolutely indispensable to the team. Because of this, Qin Lang will not easily give this position to a female student. I'm 18 years old this year. I'm young, obedient, and loyal. I hope Brother Qin can give me a chance. I want to live a better life than now. Everyone outside wants to live a better life. Do you know what it means that you came to me today? I'm mentally prepared. Sun Yan's cheeks turned red, and she awkwardly pulled down the zipper of her down jacket, revealing her white neck, which was covered with beads of sweat. She slowly slid down to the content that requires a fee to be viewed. Do you think I'm a stupid man with a spermatozoa who can't walk when he sees a woman? Qin Lang loudly. Then you really underestimate me. Let's go. Don't be embarrassed here, brother. Qin, I told you to get out, and I don't want to say it a second time. Qin Lang's eyes turned cold, and Sun Yan couldn't help but take a breath, hurriedly bowed to apologize, and hurriedly left N's cabin. It wasn't until Sun Yan left that Lin Weiner came out and said with a smile, she is just a little girl who wants to fight for a better life for herself. Why do you treat her like this? Qin Lang touched Lin Weiner's smooth little hand. People won't cherish things that are too easy to get. Let's roast them on the fire for a while. Hey, aren't you afraid that if I take her in, it will threaten your position? Question mark. After all, he is only 18 years old. Lin Weiner chuckled. I'm loyal to you, and I was the first to follow you. Why should I be afraid that she will threaten me? Age is indeed a woman's advantage, but it is not a subordinate. I also have my advantages. I find that you are getting better and better at talking. Qin Lang nodded, smiled, and hugged Lin Weiner's waist. Let's go back to the house and sleep in the cage. Noon pointer. Snow shows no signs of letting up. Sun Yan was sitting alone in the corner eating as usual. Today's lunch was instant noodles and ham sausage, which was enough to fill her stomach. Sun Yan, why did you go to N's cabin this morning? At this time, 5 girls came over and surrounded Sun Yan. I want to talk to Brother Qin about something. What's wrong? Sun Yan said calmly. Say something. Sun Yan, don't pretend now, we are classmates. Don't we still know who you are? Did you hear that Brother Qin is recruiting therapists, so he went to recommend himself? The girl sneered. Her name is Zhang Xingxing, and she is a famous female gangster in the school. Sun Yan was a little surprised. Zhang Xingxing, I underestimated you. I didn't expect that your grades were so poor, and you could still speak idioms. Who the hell are you scolding? Zhang Xingxing was furious. It's not that I have poor grades, I just don't want to learn. Okay. Sun Yan lowered her head. I was indeed looking for Brother Qin and wanted to join him, but was rejected. Zhang Xingxing laughed and said, just refuse. You think Brother Qin is blind? I can smell the filthy smell on your body through the door. Why are you pretending to be innocent? Who doesn't know that you are involved with the second highest boy, Mr. Kuo? I heard that I was pregnant and was stabbed by a man. Isn't it very satisfying? Don't talk nonsense. I have never known Kuo Shao. Sun Yan raised her head and said, actually, I know that it was you who spread this rumor, but I don't care anymore. Those who are clean will be cleansed. Is there anything you can do? It's okay. If so, I'm going to eat your mother. A round-faced girl next to Zhang Xingxing suddenly took out a kettle and poured the smelly yellow liquid inside into Sun Yan's bowl. Several girls laughed. A bitch like you only deserves to drink our urine. Drink it. Zhang Xingxing raised the corners of his mouth in a playful tone. Sun Yan did not argue with him. She stood up and wanted to leave. 2 girls held her shoulders, one on the left and the other on the right. Sister Crossing, didn't he let you go? How dare you leave? Sun Yan said angrily. What on earth do you want to do? Don't even think about leaving until you finish eating this bowl of food. I'll call someone if you do this again. Calling someone. Shut her mouth. Immediately, a girl took dirty underwear and forced it into Sun Yan's mouth, then dragged her out of the tent. This scene was naturally seen by other students in the camp. But no one wants to help her, isn't it? Just based on studying well and being beautiful? What's so great about it? He is born with a look of contempt for others and deserves to be bullied. Niu. Z. I remember you chased Sun Yan. She was bullied and you didn't help? Several boys whispered. Help me. I chased her, but I was rejected. Sun Yan is a bitch. She is very hypocritical. If you don't like her, just don't like her. You have to say something. If you don't want to fall in love in high school, you have to study hard. She also said that if I could get into King B, she could consider dating me. Hahaha, payback King B. With your scores, if you can score 400 points in the exam, it's just smoke coming out of your ancestral graves. No wonder you hate her so much. I understand. To hell with her. Grill the sausages. The intestines will burn. A clearing not far from the shelter. Crunch. Sun Yan was forced to kneel down, and her body sank deeply into the snow. She wanted to struggle, but there was no way. Her head and arms were controlled, and she couldn't move. Bitch, I gave you a chance, but you didn't succeed, so don't blame me. I must feed you today. As he spoke, Zhang Xingxing went to unbuckle his belt. The girls didn't notice that their every move had been recorded by a white mushroom covered in snow in the snow. Qin Lang didn't stop him. He just watched quietly as several girls insulted Sun Yan crazily. Chapter 74, Warhammer Girl. In the apocalypse, life in An's house is happy, warm, comfortable, and comfortable. But for some people living outside Anhu, it is like hell. Ever since Zhang Xingxing led others to humiliate Sun Yan that day, but Sun Yan did not tell Wang Wu about it for some unknown reason. More and more boys and girls joined the carnival. They are young, energetic and need an outlet. And Sun Yan, a good student with excellent academic performance, pleasant appearance and a good family background before the end of the world, is an extremely perfect object of venting point. What could be more comfortable than trampling a once high goddess into a pit of mud? They beat, humiliated, and mentally abused Sun Yan. They replaced Sun Yan's food and water, and forced her to eat excrement. If it hadn't been 40 degrees below zero outside, and most of the boys had lost their most primitive abilities, Sun Yan's fate would have been worse than being caught by goblins. The female knight who entered the lair was even worse. Night falls, the snow falls, and there are only the roars of monsters in the distance. Sun Yan, covered with bruises, lay alone in a leaky tent. Her sleeping bag had been artificially damaged, and the cold air kept pouring in from the cracks, blowing on her skin like a knife. She could clearly feel her life passing by. Her lips turned blue, and her bloodshot eyes gradually became confused. In the blur, she seemed to see her father and mother. They were saying, "Swallow, come quickly, come to mom and dad. Mom and dad, I miss you." Sun Yan cried and stretched her hands out of the sleeping bag, but her parents were getting further and further away from her. She suddenly felt that all the coldness had disappeared, and her body was very hot, so hot that she was almost sweating. Sun Yan got out of her sleeping bag and walked out of the tent with all her strength, a happy smile on her face. She was so happy that she could finally be reunited with her parents. Dad, Mom, the swallow is here. Dad, Mom, Sun Yan fell heavily into the snow and completely lost consciousness. 3 days later, Sun Yan opened her eyes and looked at everything around her blankly. U003 CBR/U003E. She didn't understand why she was here. What kind of place was this? TV show? Sun Yan shook her slow brain vigorously, and she thought of a possibility. There is no apocalypse at all, and there are no monsters at all. Everything is just a dream, but this dream is too realistic, so that's it. Then my father and mother, Dada footsteps sounded. Qin Lang appeared in front of her with a bright smile. Yanzi, you're awake, brother. Qin. Sun Yan was stunned. Otherwise, who do you think I am, Sun? Yan suddenly choked up and couldn't stop crying. She already knew where this place was. This was Qin Lang's hut. Brother Qin, since you rejected me, why did you save me again? Sun Yan cried. Before I answer your question, I want to ask you, why didn't you tell Wang Wu about your classmates' abuse of you? Didn't Wang Wu always protect you? Or is it because he has other secrets and is not as friendly as he appears? Qin Lang couldn't figure this out. Sun Yan's face was full of bitterness. Wang Wu is a good teacher. I didn't tell him because I betrayed our team first. Before I recommended myself to you, I already told Teacher Wang everything I needed to say. What kind of shame would I have? He asked for help. Qin Lang nodded and understood. Sun Yan couldn't pass the test in her heart. She was really a girl who had scheming, but not much scheming. You have been in a coma these past few days. I have customized a set of cards for you. The channel is War Priest. I don't know if you play games or not. The biggest advantage of this channel is that it can carry and fight. When this chapter is not finished, click the next chapter to continue reading chapter 74 Warhammer Girl. However, there is still a lack of core cards, so we can only take our time. Qin Lang handed a set of dozens of golden cards to Sun Yan. Yanzi, welcome to join my Qin Lang team. Brother Qin. Sun Yan burst into tears all of a sudden. She had never been so happy as now. Outside An's cabin point, Zhang Xingxing has been bored these days. Ever since Du Jun and a dozen of his classmates were killed by that big hand, Wan Wu has been in a low mood. They haven't gone hunting for more than a week. Point before, there was the little bitch Sun Yan for them to vent, but the little bitch disappeared inexplicably 3 days ago, and she must have been frozen into ice by now. It's so fucking boring. I'm still comfortable at school. I skip classes, go to internet cafes to play games, and occasionally make dates with some rich old men. When will I be the boss? I can't stand it. Zhang the stars looked at the wind and snow in the sky and sighed. Isn't this what we expect when we grow up? The round-faced girl suddenly said quietly, hey, stop being so leisurely. There is a wave of corpses coming from the north. The teacher wants us to meet the enemy. Hurry up. A boy broke into the tent and shouted. A group of students and Zhu Yun's original team members picked up weapons and went to the high ground to defend. Sure enough, a large white mass of bloody corpses and bloody dogs appeared below the high slope, numbering in the thousands. This scale was more than enough to be called a corpse tide. There are so many of them, and we only have so few people. We can't win. Hurry up and notify Brother Qin and the others to come and help. The students were quite nervous. We have already notified them. Brother Qin said that he will not give up on us. He will send reinforcement immediately. Let us hold on for a while. That makes I feel relieved, as if everyone had taken a reassurance pill. When the zombies were about to enter the range, a woman with a body shrouded in golden light walked out of Anzarao. The light was so dazzling that people could not see her face clearly. She was wearing armor, holding a long-handled warhammer as a weapon, and holding a tower shield as high as a person in her right hand. /U003 CBR /U003 that is, it's so dazzling. It's Sister Wana or Sister Dingyuan. What is she going to do? Does she want to deal with the zombies alone? Just when everyone was puzzled, the woman used the tower shield as a skateboard and slid down all the way, diving into the zombies, and then saw a large piece of light bursting out from the warhammer, and a large number of bloody corpses and blood dogs were knocked away. 4200. Combat power is weird. I remember that Sister Wana and Sister Dingyuan have higher combat power than her. This is too fierce. People exclaimed point in just a few dozen seconds. Hundreds of blood corpses and blood dogs were killed. Point the Warhammer girl was like crazy herself, killing in the tide of corpses. It took only more than 10 minutes before and after, and she killed all the corpses with the Warhammer girl as the center. Corpses piled up like a mountain. Too fierce. Sister, I love you. Woohoo. Sister, stick with me. Not only the boys were boiling, but the girls were also boiling and cheering. There was only one person in the crowd with amazing eyes. That was Wan Wu. He had guessed the identity of this Warhammer girl. Point the Warhammer girl slowly returned to the snow hill, and a dull female voice came from under the armor covering her face. Go clean up the battlefield, and you are not allowed to hide the cards privately. Those who violate the rules will be killed. Yes, big sister. Zhang Xingxing jumped up. Sister, you are so cool. Are you Sister Wana? The Warhammer girl, who had already turned her back, stopped and turned around. Do you want to know who I am? Of course, sister is so cool. We all want to know who you are. The students came over and were very enthusiastic. Oh, okay. The Warhammer girl nodded, took off a mask, and revealed a beautiful and resolute face. Ah. Looking at this face, Zhang Xingxing and his group all took a breath of cold air and felt that the blood in their bodies solidified at this moment. Chapter 75 Qin Yan. Fear spread among the crowd like a plague, and all those who had bullied her felt cold all over, as if they were frozen. This Warhammer woman with a combat power of up to 4200, who single-handedly killed the zombies, was none other than Sun Yan, who had disappeared for several days, the former goddess of academic dominance, and later the little bitch they crazily abused, Sun. The girls headed by Zhang Xingxing were so frightened that their legs weakened, and they knelt on the ground. With thousands of words choked in their throats, Sun Yan looked down at the group of students from a high position, with no trace of anger in her determined eyes. She said calmly, "Drink more water, you are a little angry, Sun. Sunan. I was wrong. I apologize to you. Don't kill me, you can do whatever you want. Don't kill me." Zhang Xingxing kowtowed crazily and howled miserably. "Why should I kill you? Kill you?" The corner of Sun Yan's mouth raised slightly. "Don't worry, not only will I not kill you, but I will also help you and treat you. It's not about my kindness, but, from this moment on, you are all my slaves, and I will let you see with your own eyes how big the gap is between us. I will become an existence that you can't even look at. Who is for it, and who is against it?" The scene was deathly silent, and you could hear a pin drop. Sun Yan put on her mask again, and turned around. The armor made a heavy metallic sound. "Go, pick up the card." Yes. The students struggled to get up, rushed into the pile of corpses, and collected the cards on the battlefield. Swallow Wang. Wu came behind Sun Yan. "Teacher. Wang, are you okay, son?" Yang respects Wang Wu very much, because he is really a good teacher. I don't know what the conflict is between you and them. I think it's time for me to take them away. Teacher. Wang, did I not speak clearly just now? They are my slaves. Where are you taking my slaves? You. Our classmates. What kind of slave is not a slave? You can't do it, because of strengthening. If you lose your body and become stronger, then exploit your classmates. I know that you are often excluded in the class, but this is not a reason to enslave them. Wang Wu was very excited. Teacher. Wang. Sun Yan seemed to be smiling under the mask. You are so cute and silly. You really don't know anything about what they did to me. What did they do? Wang Wu was confused. He really didn't know anything. Because no one had ever told him. He had been blaming himself in his tent for the loss of a dozen students due to his negligence. I don't need to explain anything to you. I'm tired. We'll leave soon. Wang Wu clenched his fists, but the sharp side of the long-handled warhammer was aimed at Wang Wu's head. Sun Yan said in a hoarse voice, "I'll say it one last time. They are my slaves, and I have the final say on their life and death." Sun Yan. How could you do this? Are you crazy? I'm your teacher. Do you want to kill me? Yanzi, how do you feel about this BT set? Qin Lang walked out of N's house with a smile, followed by the swaying mushroom man Q, who was clumsy and cute. Brother. Qin. Sun. Yan knelt down on one knee, extremely respectful. A life only belongs to Qin language. Hey, get up. Why do you give so many gifts to your family? You watch them pick up the cards, and I'll talk to Leo Wang. Yes. Sun Yan stood up. Old Wang, come, let's talk to you alone. Qin Lang put his arm on Wang Wu's shoulder and came to the tent. Wang Wu said angrily, "Boss Qin, this chapter is not finished yet. Click on the next chapter to continue reading chapter 75." Kind-hearted Yan, we are just staying here temporarily. You want to hold us here as your slaves? Is that too much? Is this too much? Qin Lang was amused. You really don't know anything. What's too much is here. Just take your time and look at it. I won't disturb you anymore. Qin Lang turned his palm and a white mushroom appeared. This was called the projection mushroom. He crushed the projection mushroom and a picture immediately appeared in the void. Sun Yan in the picture is being wildly abused by a group of students. As the scene continued to play, Wang Wu clenched his fists hard and tears slid down his cheeks uncontrollably. He finally understood why Sun Yan hated her classmates so much. If it were him, he would definitely let these beasts live. No, die. Silly boy, why didn't you tell me when you were treated like this? Wang Wu cried loudly, and he finally understood why Sun Yan said that the classmates were a little angry. This was the only water source that Sun Yan could drink in the past few days. From that day on, this shelter with less than 100 people had a very clear class division. The highest level is naturally the core members headed by Qin Lang, Lin Wana, Liu Li, Zhu Yun, Ding Yuan, Chenzu, and Sun Yan, who live collectively in Anhut. The second level is brothers Lin Emo, Wu Fa, and Wu Shan, as well as members of Zhu Yan's previous team, who live in air-conditioned RVs and snowmobiles. The third level is students who have never bullied Sun Yan. They still live in tents with sufficient food supply and eating equipment. It is not very comfortable, but at least it is not uncomfortable. The fourth level, headed by Zhang Xingxing, is the more than 30 students who have insulted Sun Yan. The tents they live in, the sleeping bags they sleep in, and the food they eat, are all discarded and defective products. It can only guarantee that they will not be raped, freeze and starve to death. As long as you give me instant noodles and a heating lamp, I can do whatever you want. Zhang Xingxing knocked open a certain snow. The man inside opened the door of the chariot and raised his eyebrows. Can you really do anything? Yes! Exclamation mark. You can do whatever you want. I'm really hungry and can't bear it anymore. Look, my hands are frozen. It's frostbite. Zhang Xingxing is not an ugly girl. In fact, her appearance is above the class level, and there are only a handful of girls who are better looking than her. But after these days of living in the open, enduring hunger and cold, she has lost weight. 3 buckets of instant noodles, 3 ham sausages, and 2 heating lamps. If you want to do it, get in the car. If you don't, you can get out. The man raised his eyebrows. Do it. Do it. Zhang Xingxing was overjoyed and got into the car. About half an hour later, Zhang Xingxing limped out of the car, holding instant noodles, ham sausage and a heating lamp in her hands. Just when she was about to go back to the tent, to eat with joy on her face, she heard the sound of steel armor behind her. The sound of friction. Zhang Xingxing froze in place and hurriedly explained. I'm too hungry. The woman in the armor just glanced at her lightly and said nothing. A golden light flashed on the warhammer and enveloped Zhang Xingxing. Suddenly, she felt like she was bathing in a hot spring, and all the frostbite and physical discomfort disappeared at this moment. Thank you, Sister Yanzi. Zhang Xingxing knelt on the ground and kowtowed quickly. Sun Yan remained silent and walked forward. The man who had just finished relaxing in the car and was smoking a cigarette quickly threw away the cigarette butt and stood at attention to salute. This is a core figure, an existence that cannot be offended. Hello, Sister Yan. Sun Yan said calmly. Don't give me so much next time. Only by being hungry and cold can I serve you better, right? The man understood instantly. I understand. Hey, thank you, Sister Yan, for reminding me. Sun Yan nodded, turned and left. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.